Hey everyone, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We had an extended weekend, so that was really nice. It's good to see all of you here in the chat. It is a chilly Tuesday morning, and I'm not ready for it. Not at all. KNS, good morning. Thank you again for sending the gifts. That was really so sweet of you. Such a nice surprise. Hey, Shelly M, Tammy's, Captain, Mama 3, Crimson, Crafty, Scooter, Casey, Lori, Trixie, Aristocat, Miss Melissa, Love Louie, Maleficent, Cheryl, good morning, Bug. I wonder how long I keep you going in my pocket for in trouble at work. I'll try to be quiet in here. Hey, Preppy, Snazzy, Lake Breezy, Breezes, sorry. Shelly, thank you with the number 35. Let me move on down. Hey, Chrisette, Losa Beach, Crazy, Gary, Tiffany, doing chores. Oh, never fun, Tiffany. Hey, Mrs. Fletcher. Butter. Sarah, Donna, We Gob. Everybody, so good to see all of you. Miss Liva Bird, Break Time 5. Jackie, Julie's Crafting, The Wheels on the Bus. Hey, Nosy, Smooth Purple, London Girl. Oh, excuse me, Buvalo, Donnie, Desiree, T-Berry, Mrs. Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Hey, Steph, Crime Brulee, Mama Michelle. Oh my goodness, so many of you. Rapunzel, Potsy, Peppermint, Catherine, Jada, number 60. Thank you very much. Beautiful Sunflower, Amy, Lippy. We driving to work early? Drive safe. Hey, Seeker, Mystic, Marie. Yay, you caught us. Hey, Midwest, Tinkerbug, Porsche, Andy, Toe Beans, Proud Mimi, Deek, Raven. It's so good to see everybody. All right. We need to stop these messages. Okay, we got it. Thank you to all of you for being here, and thank you to all of you who sent me an email. It really means a lot. Hey, Cambry, Casey, I am glad to see many people say, "Hey, OG, Diana, Turning Leaves, Jill, BB's good to see you. Twisted Crime Scene, Casey with the 112, thank you. Andy, 43 here in Tennessee. Oh, I don't want it. I don't want it. Hey, One Eye Flow. Hey, K-Cass, Petty AF. I just have one question. If Trump's, Beyonce, or any other celeb's professional spokesperson spoke like TCT, would they lose their title? Yeah. And he's claiming he's national. Claiming he's national spokesman. Hey, Patricia. I don't know if any of you have caught on, but it has definitely caught Peyton. So heading back to the bushes. Welcome, Joel. I hope you, man, Peyton is so therapeutic. Just give me 1 second to deal with Nellie. I swear she just knows when I'm busy. To acknowledge, should OG Fish express their opinions? Keep me posted, if you will, OG Fish. 49 is Surf City, New Jersey. I just left New Jersey, and it was a beautiful weekend there. Very, very nice. Well needed. I loved it. Hey, One Red Rose. Rondi, it's good to see you. All right, let me pull this up over here with the clickety clackety. World famous, booyah. Hey, William, London girl. Deidre, good morning. Well, there's that. I know. Why is it so cold today? It went from 83. Was yesterday 83 or Sunday? I don't know. To this cold weather. Good morning, happy feet, happy soul, to soul. It's good to see you. Hey, Jem, Stephanie. So, has anybody else picked up on like the little clues that some of these creators are given that they have seen alleged CPS reports? Hey, Pristine. Anybody else pick up on like the slip up that people have, seen these? That some, I guess, the chosen ones have seen these. Hey, Luna Girl, Mystery Manor. Now, listen, I don't know if there's CPS reports or not. I'm sure there is, to be honest. I don't know what they entail. But I will say this, nothing would surprise me at this point, but it's definitely against the law. So it's a short, quick way to get yourself, subpoenaed to court when you were implying that you have seen CPS documents that are sealed, right? And that's to protect the child. So, hey, Constance, good to see you. It's been a long time. We were talking about TikTok wieners bright and early. Well, we are, Kodo, and I know that just may excite you, but calm down, my friend. It will be okay. But no, seriously, yeah. And another person implied it the other night. Then again, a lot of what they do is implied because you kind of have to dance around what they're saying, which is fine. Which goes to say, I thought a parent shared them. I think one did share them. That's the only way it could be done. Hey, Tara. It's 100% against the law. It sure is. That's the plan Betty was talking about. Yeah, and what does that do? Further humiliate Sebastian? I mean, what does it do? That he is not the only parent of Sebastian. I agree. I agree. I think T-Rev, Tony, and Justin have seen them. I think there's two more creators, or, oh gosh, I don't even know if you call them creators, that have also seen them. So I'm sure we'll be finding out soon. I know a lot of people think that he did slip and say he wrote them, for sure. And I believe that. I believe that. I believe because Katie and Chris have been quiet and they haven't been combating the things that Seth is out here saying. I would 100% believe that he had written up some type of CPS reporting and passed it around to these, people behind the scenes. I would believe that. Absolutely. I think there's at least 4. Yeah. And then how would they even like combat if it's true or not? By releasing the real ones and then they get in legal trouble? I mean, because that's the type of games these people play. Don't mistake it. That is absolutely the type of these people play all types of fucking games. They play stupid, they play like they're, unaware of things. They deny what is before their eyes. There's a bunch of hypocrisy. This place is so full of bullshit. It is exhausting. And then what cracks me up the most is these people are so full of it that they don't even see. Where's the prosthetic peen? Oh, it is still sitting in a spot where it met is formation. He faked his timesheet, so I'm not surprised. Allegedly, he did that, right? There was, I don't know if there was an investigation. Well, and I feel like this whole time has been an attempt to get Katie to speak. And we kind of heard that, right? I don't know if many of you listened in the other night, but there is a point where it's like, would it be beneficial to come out and speak? I personally, I don't know. I think what will happen is we're going to see more people end up going the legal route. Speaking of legal route, a particular somebody has been really quiet after coming out and all the threats and the truth serums and the, muzzling and the tape on the mouth. And they've been really, really quiet. Has anybody else noticed that? Now, the word on the street is, as a part of his job, Seth looks very bad in them, but he scored name out. TikTok Peen said he'll be releasing shocking information. Which I think we know what that's going to be. Oh, is that the rumor? Shit. Could it be like, I don't know, parolees violating parole? Could be. I mean, I don't know. Clickety clack. Yeah. Wow. What really amazes me, I don't know if many of you saw it, but what really amazes me is the amount of people that go around here threatening legal action, right? They threaten it, they threaten it, they threaten it. And then when they're facing it, they have a problem with it. That absolutely cracks me up. See, I heard a little clip. Let me play it for all of you. It was very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, some people like to deny what is right before their eyes, but I won't. Spoke on what, Snazzy? I don't think so. I think if she does, people are going to drag them through the mud even more. I don't know what you guys are referring to be honest. It could be that. It could be the fact that, there were several means of violations taking place. But again, I don't know if that's true. It is just rumored. I'm sure there's, oh, wait, that was him. I was going to say, I'm sure there's somebody that knows how to dig into people's records and find out. I have to replace it. Says the CPS reports have been redacted, so how do we know it's real or fake anymore? That's what I'm saying. Like, we wouldn't even be able, and the only way they can combat if it's real or true is either by A, coming out and using their word, and which people that don't like them won't accept it anyway, or showing the reports themselves, which is illegal. So it's really a lose-lose. You can't really combat that, right? Hey, goalie. Good morning, Lisbeth. It just keeps getting better and better. Oh, Ami. All right. All right. Hey, Sin. Can I finish saying good morning? Where's the badass attorney now? Hey, Pine Needle. Thank you, Mystery. All right, so let's pull this up. This was an interesting one. If I can remember which one it was. I think it was this one. Let's see. Let's check it. Okay, it wasn't this one. But I know it was you that did it. Let me see. Let me just exit exit some of these ones out. Some of these people pop on my timeline. Just hit the unsubscribe. All right, so it has to be. Because I know you're the one that's on top of it. I usually catch yours. Yes, here it is. All right. This is literally Davis fam. Many of you are very familiar. I am gonna scroll past your music because it is copyright for me. All right.
Ron had a lot to say about Bullhorn Betty. If that doesn't show you anything about how stupid and unprepared and how this.
Can I just say a lot of people do a lot of things for people's attention, and almost to the extent of they will just fabricate their own like reality to like something that never took place. I love that. I do too. I love this song.
Alleged investigator doesn't know how to investigate.
Girl, of course you did not get blocked. Snazzy, no. No, you would not. You are not blocked. Hey, Rowena, anyone who's dealt with narcissists, yep.
Squat. It's very telling that obviously he has a bias. We don't have anything to do with Duty Ron. Occasionally he has some things to say that I like because he's a law enforcement personality. But at the end of the day, if he can't see the forest for the trees, then he's no good.
Oh.
At all.
I'm sitting here staring with all of you, and it's not even on the screen. Yeah. It's been a while, my friends. Bear with me. I do apologize. All right. Now we got it. Jump scare. Sorry about that.
And considering that he hasn't even done one scintilla of research on the real facts, that shows me he's not very good at his job. He's not a very good detective, because one thing detectives are supposed to do is research, and research well, right? And do detective work. So that
detective work, like why quotations? It's actual detective work. It's not like I don't know, fake credentials or printed out on a printer. It's like actual factual detective work. Yeah, Gary is just here for good looks.
That tells me he's just a fat putz, disgusting person. That probably needs to maybe lay off the donuts. And maybe.
I love when people that are or have been big people themselves call other people, fat or try to insult their weight or any of those things. To me, it's always very comical to see that, because good old Bester over here, at one point or another, was a very big woman. She also is surrounded by people that are overweight. So to take like these little low blows of like, oh, fly off the donut, sir, is stupid. It's just stupid. I wonder if he's going to sue you because he doesn't like donuts.
Start doing some actual research and investigation before he opens his fat lips.
Don't forget, Betty's research and investigation leads her to restraining orders, protective orders. My bad. I saw that, Miss Lyra Bird. That was funny as hell.
My opinion, but
I guess
his buffoonery has gotten the better of him. So we're going to leave it at that. I think he's a colossal piece of garbage that clearly has shown he doesn't know how to do an investigation. And
I'm sorry to keep pausing, but here's the thing. One, I'm used to commentating, so you have to pause. But I know literally Davis would never strike. But here's the thing with people like Betty. Anytime anybody even remotely says something, unfavorable, she can't handle it. And we knew she couldn't handle it. Like literally in duty runs, I said, Betty will be, cursing duty run out in 3, 2, and she literally hit the 1. Like it was that quick. A lot of people are like that. Like they're so insecure, they think that even things that aren't regarding them, they feel they have to respond to. And to me, that shouts insecurities. Like not everything needs addressed. Not everything needs to be addressed several times. Not, the only people that overly fight their point are people that are they know their point is mute, right? They know that they're lying. They know that they're insecure. They know that they've been busted. So they overly argue it. They keep bringing it up and bringing it up and bringing it up. And then they expect the other person to too, right? But some of us live in a more, secure place right now, and we don't feel the need to acknowledge every little thing. But Betty is so damn insecure that just the sheer mention of her name has her raging and seeing red. And everybody else is wrong. Everybody else is uncredentialed. Everybody else doesn't know how to do investigative work. It's just baffling. A good point. I ignore ignorance.
Pretty scary if he's this
or desperation
detective, right? So I'm going to be looking into his credentialing, which I've never done before, but I will be starting to look into his credentialing because if he's going to come after me, buckle up, Buttercup.
Again, Betty stays eating on camera, right? She does. She eats on camera all the time. But there she is. I'm going to be looking into his credentials. Why? Because you're not credentialed? Because you lie about your credentials, you feel everybody else is lying about theirs? How many times have we seen Betty try to tear apart actual professionals and claim that they're not credentialed while she presents a self-made, self-printed press pass in a courtroom as evidence?
Buckle up, Buttercup. That's all I gotta say. Buckle up, Buttercup. And when he goes too far, I'll see him soon. When he goes too far, I'll see him soon, and I'll see him in court where we don't have a problem with these yahoos and suing them. So
there you go. There you go. I doubt he was even laminated. These people that are constantly screaming First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, my constitutional rights, are often threatening to sue others. Why is that? Because Duty Ron pointed out the ridiculousness that is Bullhorn Betty. That's why. Betty is all about Betty. Absolutely, Uncle Will. He's very creditable. And that's why, look, she did it to Michelle After Dark. She's doing it to Duty Ron. I wouldn't be shocked if somewhere throughout this stream, she made the statement of unsubscribe to him. Because that's like her other follow-up. Yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to, I'll tell you, I tried really hard to find like a image of Josh's face, but the mic is always covering it. So unfortunately, that was the only image that I could come up with.
Oh, we will be doing that because I'm not allowed to have an opinion of two people that may have unalived their child, but he can have his opinion of me being a psycho, but that's okay. And he doesn't deserve to go to jail, but I.
You know what's crazy? I'm not, I don't know about any of you, but I was threatened with legal action for having an opinion of Seth Rogers, who may or may not have participated in the disappearance of his child, right? So that quote unquote side over there, just 2 weeks ago, before I assumed their friend, who may or may not be back in jail, was threatening people and doxing people and using harassment and intimidation into silencing people and sending out false cease and desist with federal injunctions attached, that was being celebrated. Put a 1 in the chat if you recall people over there celebrating the idea that people were going to be silenced through the courtroom. And now those same people over here screaming foul, right? These same people over here screaming how corrupt and unfair and constitutional rights. That's the type of shit I can't stand. The hypocritical, situational bullshit. It is absolutely bullshit. But go off, Betty.
Do because of my opinion. He's an idiot. Okay, pure and simple, a freaking idiot from a piece of shit area.
I think we should.
And they probably do piece of shit work.
This the bitch that says she's from Skid Row. You're calling New York a piece of shit area? Miss, I lived on Skid Row.
Don't care for him. Don't like him. I could care less what his opinion about me is.
Oh, that's
you
not
never
true.
know.
You're on a whole.
You might get to meet me in person.
Oh
with
no!
My bullhorn.
You're scary.
I'm constitutionally allowed.
I think that's why he called you a sociopath, right? I think that may be why. Hey, Tony, it's so good to see you. 5 months. Thank you very much. You should sue her for that. How dare she, Snippins? I mean, is there any wonder why people feel the way they feel? Like, who even acknowledges something and then turns around and says, I don't care what he thinks of me? Like, it's so juvenile. Just admit it. You were big butthurt, so much so that you had to sit there and go off on them and threaten legal action, then say, I'm going to get my bullhorn. Shut the fuck up. Like, it's just that simple. I was thinking about the other term. My Michelle, I missed it.
The peacefully assemble.
Peacefully assemble.
Public property is.
Oh,
and I'm going to stand on that.
Yeah, stand on that.
But I think he's a piece of garbage.
Stand on those 4 POs, too.
So we're going to get off of that and move on. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is a 15-year-old child that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Oh, Betty. Have any of you ever seen somebody acknowledge something they're not bothered by? I'm not bothered by this. Speaking of threats, Brittany, I have received plenty of notice of your several times now threatening me to remove something off my stream. I will not be abiding by your threat, so you were going to have to follow through, whatever was on the other end of that threat. If you feel that there was a privacy violation, like participating in the docs of somebody and their loved ones, if you feel like something like that took place, you are more than welcome to utilize YouTube's reporting format, especially, privacy rights, and go ahead and time state where you feel your privacy was infringed on, but it wasn't, which is why you can't do anything through YouTube. So you keep, leaning with it and telling me you're going to do this, you're going to do that, then do it. That's it. Just do it. I mean, why you're only giving me heads up because there's nothing you can do about it. Like, I do it. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. I love it. I love it. Also love the amount of hate bonding taking place right now. But, didn't the judge say she was not allowed to even talk about them on social media? Again, when she gets violations, she'll be crying and saying again that she didn't violate. And this is what these people do. Duty Run said it best. People like her are she has narcissistic traits. I'm not saying she's a narcissist because that term's heavily watered down, but she does have narcissistic traits, and they can never admit when they're wrong. She was wrong. That's what BJ stands for, Betty Jr. Yes. I agree, Desiree. And to keep threatening people with lawsuits and saying, oh, we have money, and I heard you have money, so I'm going to sue you. Shut up. She will, Stephanie. So the way it works is she's already going on the 20th. And when she goes there, I'm sure they will present to the judge the violations in between. A lot of times what you'll do is they'll stack them, right? So because Betty's out of state, they're not going to really send out warrants and do all of that. She'll be in their state and on the 20th, right? And at that point, I'm sure at some point during that, rather it be before court, during court, or after court, she will more than likely be hit with these other violations. Now, a lot of times, a small violation and a small violation and a small violation will be stacked together and then presented, and then you have a big violation, right? So there's no doubt in my mind that it will, she'll face it. New interview with their Vinny Steph, Tony. Yes, Petty AF. I wouldn't call it an interview. It was more of a, come over here, say what you want to say type of thing. And that was it. I have a feeling it was done over here because he didn't have very kind things to say about Betty the night before. Thinks that they're only trying to put her behind bars for 1 year. She doesn't realize 1 year per violation. Like, why? At what point do you accept that this is what a judge said and just do what you were told, right? So you're for the shitty parents. I don't know, Donnie Dinkle. What a hell of a name. Who's the shitty parents? So you're for... that's the other thing, this major divide. Ironically, I heard Steph say as much after he went on an entire rant on actual, national news talking about my team and my side and our side. He then goes on this little panel over here and makes a statement about how there shouldn't be sides. Now, I showed you all a few days ago, maybe it was a few weeks ago, who the hell knows? YouTube time moves so quickly and swiftly. But I showed you all then where the actual divide came in and took place. And it was very much obvious who caused that. Good morning, Janine. Slide it in, Doohickey. Come on in. Come on in. Where was this CP on panel? I don't know what you're talking about. In the video with her mother, she told herself being a teenager on probation or whatever in Florida, she's been this way all her life. All life long. She's gotten away with it, too.
A lot of litigation going on here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And, how was that day? Can you tell me a little bit about it? I know that things didn't turn out the way that you guys had hoped it would, but can you tell me a little bit about what happened?
See, here's the thing. They already listed who they're, and then she'll be the next. And then she'll be the next, right? That's how it goes, simply Southern. I don't know why these people aren't realizing yet that this will affect the rest of their lives, right? Betty will never escape this. It will always be there, and it is only her that will go with this the rest of her life. It will not affect the others. I don't know at what point they put themselves first, but again, none of it was ever done for any other reason than to seek revenge on people they dislike. That's one thing everybody on that quote-unquote team has in common, is that they are all revengeful, petty, spiteful, scorned people. She won't, Potsy, because in her mind, she's not. In her mind, she created the awareness for Sebastian. That's why. It can't happen, Angela, and I've tried, and it can't happen. You go and comment in one of these chats, right? Even if you're kind, if you're unbiased, if you're respectful, you go and comment, and immediately they jump on you like little freaking fleas. And they just jump on you and they're like, because there's this delusion that simply because they say it about the Proudfoots, they're not hateful. No, you're just as hateful. Matter of fact, I can't think of one person over here, besides FF writing in one tweet, that has legitimately ever said they believe that Seth Rogers is guilty. Hey, Daddy's baby girl.
Well, Josh, frankly, I think the decision was made before we ever got into the courtroom.
The only thing worse than Tony is double the toaster. That is the only thing. Hey, Lovey, Doohickey, thank you very much.
Right.
Let me make sure here. Hold on. Going a little bit. All right. Go ahead. Say that again.
Oh, you didn't offend me. I'm sorry.
Is this better now?
I may have spoken in a intense tone. I apologize for that. Good morning, Tennessee. Gail, Chloe, and Justin had a rather civil conversation. Yeah, but the chat doesn't. The chat is very disrespectful. I see your voices behind the shed, and that is the problem. But here's the thing, though. Like, they will speak respectfully to each other in front of each other, and then the bashing takes place again thereafter. It's a little annoying. Well, that's okay. My crime time. I meant as far as like channel owners go. It's what it should be. It's what it should be. I've been saying for weeks, there shouldn't be sides. There shouldn't be teams. We don't know any of the parents. Everybody's, on one side or the other. because that is what kept this going. That is how it keeps going. Said it from the beginning. There has to be a hero and a villain. And you got the people that believe they're on the hero side, and you got the people that believe they're on the villain side. What if I told you we don't know any of them? We don't know any side. Bowie Girl with the 1 month. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for being a member here with us. Give me one quick second. Largely, Seth had been talking very foul and perverted to women. Everybody has acknowledged that, to be honest. You know what I found to be comical? I'll tell you what I found to be quite comical. When one trash can hosts another trash can, and the whole chat calls the trash can, but they're both trash cans, and it was one big dumpster fire. You know what I mean? That's what I find to be comical. And I love the idea, too, how insulted people get when you simply just disagree. Like, you can't just have, like, I don't know, a cordial conversation. No. Because, again, a lot of it comes down to who likes who and who dislikes who. Speak on court, BHB, and court TV. Green, where does CP speak on court, BHB, and court TV? I don't know, Kathy. I must have missed that, but thank you for being a member here for 10 months. Thank you very much. Hey, Truth, I see people saying hi, but I didn't see you come in. Who are half asleep, allegedly, don't even know what they're talking about. Oh, boy. I'll tell you. Listen, I'm not going to rehash this whole situation, but I honest to God, I want to know. And maybe I'll just go ahead and make a poll over it. Hey, Jaguars. Hey, SS. How many of you believe if it were anybody else, if it were me, QB, Betty, one of the parents, rather that be, Chris, Seth, whatever, if any of us sat on a stream and presented ourselves in that format, do you really think it wouldn't go around and allegations wouldn't be made and all of the things that took place? I mean, it would. And the fact of the matter is, if I'm going to be blamed for some ridiculous bullshit that I didn't start, I'm going to respond. Again, there were 3 that I'm aware of. 3 others, other channel holders, creators, if you will, that acknowledged and played that clip and had those conversations taking place well before me. How the fuck did it land on me? I'll tell you why. There are some people that can't stand. Like, I'll literally tell you why. Sassy Hound, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was on my end.
Okay. Yeah, Josh, I think
You as
most
well,
of the
thank
people,
you.
I don't know if you heard Mr. and Mrs. E talking about it, but we feel like the decision was made before we ever got into the courtroom.
Oh, okay. Of course you do.
Why did you feel that way? Was it just?
I'm not going to keep pausing. I do apologize for that. But Josh did a stream on this the night prior, I believe it was. And during that, he basically pointed out how ridiculous this whole thing is, and how when a judge rules, the judge rules. Now, before Betty went back in front of that judge and lost, she did say that she thinks the judge was a good judge. Who didn't know that if she lost, it was going to be corruption, it was going to be all these things? Hey, Casual Art. It was so fast. I respond to one thing because I didn't start it, but mostly I'll not say anything not worth it. Right. I'm tired of it. I'm with you. Blame for everything. Well, thank you, Kathy. I'm glad you say it. But here's the thing, right? Truth be told, there was already a personal vendetta, so of course she's going to skip past the other 3. One of them nobody pays any attention to anyway, so it wouldn't have brought anything worth calling that person out. The other person, while they get decent numbers, they don't get the numbers I get. So again, it wasn't as beneficial to call them out. The third person, they've already ran through the hate campaign of them, so it wasn't going to offer anything. But going at Granny was going to offer a lot. And if you can't see that's exactly what it was for, I don't know what to tell you. Hey, Mommy-O.
Did you feel that way? What, days before, week before?
No, it was just a reading the room situation. You could look at the body language of the other side and cutting up with the deputies and the sheriffs and the court reporters and everything else. And, it didn't seem to.
Let me make myself very clear here. Okay. I am speaking about Betty Jr. Nobody else, just Betty Jr. If you feel this is about you, it has nothing to do with me. I am not speaking to anybody else but Betty Jr. when I say that. Let's make that very crystal clear. I expect because Josh already acknowledged all of this that he's going to speak up at this point and say like, well, to be fair, Tony, she did break the law and the judge upheld it, right? Surely that's what he's going to, that's what he said the other night pretty much, right? So hopefully he'll say it. Hey, Vanessa.
To be a serious situation. And, I leaned over and told my wife, I said, I think that we're in trouble here. And she said, yeah, looking around, I kind of feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably not a very good feeling. So, I know that there was evidence presented and I hear that people saying, that,
he does.
That Betty,
which isn't a bad thing.
What was presented of Betty was clipped or whatever it is, or that it was taken out of context. Were you guys allowed to present evidence too?
See, now Josh already acknowledged that too. He said, no, while it's clipped and put together, it's not out of context. So, yeah, Amy, I blew my mind, to be honest, because I was not referring to the person who thought I was referring to them. I was not referring to them. I would have said their name. Of course, they were able to present evidence, but what evidence can you present? Now, Betty would have known that they were going to show her, jumping out at Bowersock. She should have known they were going to show her around their neighborhood, posting the flyers and saying, I hope they get my message and blah, blah, blah. So the only evidence she could have presented would have been the before and after, like the live stream story in those moments before and after. But it wouldn't have changed what the judge saw. It wouldn't have changed what took place because what took place took place. People that lose always say they weren't given a chance to present evidence. BS. That's just crazy. All you have to say is, excuse me, Your Honor, may I present evidence? It's that simple. Not me, Sassy. I can't be bothered.
Well, the evidence that we had was exactly what Chris said it was, which is that she had never been around Chris. She had never met Chris. She had reached out. Everybody said that she had been inaccurate about whether she had reached out. She had left him a voicemail way back in May about something that he said in her chat.
Right there, he's lying. Because I showed you all the messages, right? And I'll pull them up again. If you haven't seen them, just let me know. But the truth is, there was a troll of Chris Proudfoot in Betty's chat. And it said something about, I'm going to sue you. Chris got wind of it and reached out to Betty and said, hey, this is before there was this animosity between the two. Reached out and said, hey, that wasn't me. You're being trolled, blah, blah, blah. Betty's response was then later to go and use the same messages and do this whole rant about, if you come for me and mine, you don't know who you're threatening, rah, 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 rah. And on a public stream, she tried to call the man. Thank you, Rhonda. Number 336. Good morning to you.
And he responded to her through Facebook Messenger and gave her a response. There was no fighting. There was nothing like that. She
thinks she's a martyr.
They never had any contact after that.
Well, they did.
And the protective order stated that she was stalking them. She was harassing them. And if you look up the definition of stalking, she did not meet that definition. She had never been around anybody other than Terry Bowersock.
Look at his eyes right there. Like, speak up and say the truth. She did stalk them. She went to the man's job and tried to interview. She interviewed relatives. She told her audience to keep an eye out for them and report to her when you see them. Be honest. Summer Laundry's Quentin Sebastian's case. Betty always said Ellie was corrupt. Right, it's a pattern. Betty's the common denominator. Thank you, Snazzy.
Which as we've seen in her video, he was actually following her.
How was he following
So,
her?
you know,
She's
it was
behind him.
to this day, what I said in the interview with Vinny, which is that they were untruthful about what they said to obtain those protective orders. And, you know, it just continued to move on from there.
How can you be untruthful when the evidence is presented? Seriously. Right. If you look up the definition of stalking, wow. If you look up the cease and desist that you guys sent out to several different people, none of that actually happened, which is why you never follow through. But, you know, Betty's innocent.
Right. And so I understand that a 9-minute video was played in court to sort of, you know, bolster the
To show
side of the plaintiffs. And
it's called evidence, Josh. You know that. You said as much the other night. You know that. It was evidence presented.
and which the plaintiff was Chris Proudfoot, right? Nobody else, because there were already 3 that sort of by default were awarded because the no-show, and then, you know, Betty claimed that she didn't have enough time, and you know, that's all up, you know, all that it could be handled during.
Now, what gets me about that is, again, Betty lied. If you have the DA come up and testify that she was served and she was served properly, if you have Betty on the news before the hearing admitting that she's aware that she is meant to be at a hearing, there is no she wasn't properly served. Obviously, that didn't work, or the courts wouldn't have followed through.
And appeal this as well. And you guys plan to appeal, correct?
Correct.
In all honesty, you know, at what point do you go, you know, that she's got to stand down? I mean, is it after the appeal or what? Because I don't have an opinion about it one way or the other. I do think that outsiders do not get a fair shake a lot of the time when they're from out of town, and you know, they're perceived to come in and cause trouble. Judges typically don't like dealing with outsiders, to be honest with you, and that is the truth.
Why would that be the truth? The truth to who? The truth where? Betty tried to zoom in for that hearing after she claimed that her lawyer told her she didn't have to be there. Right. Betty also claimed she was unaware of it. So how did she try to zoom into it? That's the type of stuff that, like, honestly, doesn't make any sense. But they feed it instead of just admitting the truth and saying, listen, you know, she was aware. We knew she was aware. No, because they have to coddle to keep the interview going, right? Have to stay in good graces. Again, I bet you, and this is my opinion, if Josh didn't do the stream the night before where he spoke poorly of Betty and everything going on, I think that they wouldn't have done this interview. I think this interview was to clean everything up and say, oh, no, you're wrong.
At what point do you just go, you know, I'm not going to be a martyr, and I'm not going to go to jail trying to prove a point that simply cannot be proven?
Hey, Jason.
Well, we're too deep into it now to turn back, Josh. I mean, we're in a situation now where it's not about fighting for a channel. It's about fighting for her freedom.
But if you really want to fight for your freedom, the best way you would do that is by following the law. Rather you agree or disagree. At the end of the day, the judge has the final say, and the judge said, don't do X, Y, and Z. So if you really want to fight for your freedom, wouldn't you do that by just abiding by what was said to you? Wouldn't that make more sense? I think the officer usually pulls over both, if I'm being honest.
Right, but I mean, the judge, like, I don't know what the judge was saying, other than, you know, stop, or, you know, he ruled against her ultimately. I mean, is there a gag on her now?
No, the protective order that's issued is pretty clear, and what she has to be held to is what's inside the 4 corners of that protective order.
Okay.
So everybody says that she can't do this, she can't do that. Well, what she cannot do is she cannot have direct or indirect contact. Indirect contact is defined as having somebody else contact them on her behalf. And she's never done that to begin with.
No. Who recalls Betty telling her audience to do X, Y, and Z? Because I do. I mean, that's the problem. You can't deny what everybody has seen. It was very public.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but after the appeals,
Revival, I'm glad you said that, because I love this idea that people are cheering on Seth, and I get it. Cheer them on. You support them. That's fantastic. But people that are cheering on this whole, I removed the muzzle and Seth's going to say what he wants to say, and the passion, quote unquote passion, that he showed the other night, where was that? That passion wasn't for Sebastian. I stand by that, because it was for Betty. If it wasn't for what just happened to Betty, we wouldn't have saw that passion. So where was that passion for Sebastian? I mean, time is everything.
After the appeal process, whatever the decision is, because I think what can happen is you can shoot it to the appellate courts. They can hear it, they can overrule it, they can keep it the same.
Right.
I mean,
them.
It does kind of feel like she is running out of rope a little bit here.
Doesn't kind of feel like it. Is obvious she's running out of rope. That's it. If she's doing something the court doesn't like, the court can pull her plug, plain and simple. I'll tell you this. If my arguments in a courtroom were X, Y, and Z, right? And the judge denied them and said the argument doesn't fit, I wouldn't keep that argument going forth. I would say, okay, well, that one didn't work, so we're going to have to come up with something else. You know what I mean? Like, and the fact that they're still keeping that argument, it just tells you everything. BHB threatened the other day to move to Tennessee and rent a place. Her house is paid in full. She wants to fight all of this, blah, blah. Well, then she'll be a resident. She can't say it's because I'm from out of town, right? The man had a receipt from the store. Betty sat there and waited for him, not the other way around. Right. It was obvious. It was so obvious. Those who want to see it for what it was, see that it was obvious. Tony, you're not a judge or a lawyer. If you were friends with Betty, you would not encourage. Right. I think they're going to appeal it. I do believe that. I just don't think it will get overturned. First off, appeals rarely get overturned. Secondly, the judge did not mistake the law in this situation. He very much abided by it. He even quoted which parts of the law fit which part for his decision. Hey, Janae, good morning.
Well, I think that she never had any rope in Sumner County. I think I feel that way. Seth feels that way.
Oh, please.
I think that getting that out of Sumner County and taking it to the appellate court, which is in Davidson County, it's in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we all feel like that it's going to be about the law, and there will be a lot more evidence.
Here's the thing on an appeal. This is very commonly mistaken. On an appeal, you're not allowed to present new evidence. You're not. And if these people have a team of lawyers, right? Did that team of lawyers go away when he got put away? I don't know. But for people who claim that they have this team of elite lawyers working for them, one of them should have the common sense to tell you that you don't get to present new evidence on an appeal. It's done and done. There's no new evidence. It's too late. You don't get to do that. So that's not going to happen. Secondly, I guarantee the only way Betty would be satisfied is if they did it in a whole different state. And even then, she'd come up with some bullshit. People keep saying the Proudfoots are running this big operation where they're, paying off people and blah, blah, blah. Don't you think if the FBI will arrest and break down P. Diddy, you don't think the FBI would come down on the Proudfoots? Like, you can claim that they're paying off local law enforcement, but you want us to also believe they're paying off the FBI, the TBI as well? Oh, you do, Thor? I guarantee you that decision would be exactly the same. I agree. I mean, do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, I forgot the G, but it's not your business. But I mean, does that not make sense? I don't know.
Provided at that appeal.
Yeah.
That we weren't really able to provide in the PO hearing. You know, the PO hearing's pretty cut and dry. It's what is not the plaintiff, but the petitioner. What is the petitioner claiming and what is the respondent claiming?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when we get to the appeals court, it'll be a more drawn out process.
No, it wouldn't. Again, no, it wouldn't. If you had a good argument, you would have presented it in the courtroom that day. You don't have a good argument. You can't present new evidence. There is not going to be anything different than what it was. And then to top it off, you're also violating. So it's not like you've kept your hands clean, you stayed quiet because you're waiting on the appeal process. No, you've gotten louder because they have all painted Betty out to be this martyr that she is not. It's none of this has anything to do with Sebastian. That's just that. And it's sad.
And there will be no 9-minute video with a bunch of clips. And, you know, Josh, as nice of a guy as you are and as professional as you are, I don't think any of us would want our life for 7 months and take the little bits and pieces of things we said and put it into a 9-minute video. I think we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with Tony there. I do. People do it all the time, Tony. I have people trying to put clips together from 3 years ago without context, without any, and just flop it on the screen to try to make you look bad. That does happen. But in this situation, that 9-minute video consisted of all the threats that Betty has made and all the violations that have taken place to land her into getting these orders granted against her. They weren't just placed together to, it doesn't change what we heard. And again, Josh knows that. The lab knows that because he addressed it already. So why isn't he just speaking up now and saying, well, respectfully, Tony, she did do those things and those things look very bad. And it's not because they were presented back to back to back. It's because they were proof for what they were there for.
Yeah, that's actually happened to me before, and I'm really not that nice of a guy. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. The problem is, I don't know if it's the problem, but I would say, her words are her words, but you can take things out of context. It's hard to know the meaning, in the heat of the moment. Sometimes people get upset. Sometimes people, say just kind of pop off. I've done that many times.
And that is true as well, right? Sometimes we get angry and we say shit we regret. If somebody took that angry moment and presented it in front of a courtroom and it was a threat against you, that angry moment doesn't get excused because you were upset. The underlying problem here is that Betty has made this personal. Betty has become so personally angry at the Proudfoots, people she doesn't know, to the point that she now has protection orders against her. At the end of the day, you are still responsible for that angry moment. You don't get to say, well, I was angry and I was upset, so, therefore it shouldn't be presented to a judge. No, you're still held accountable. It doesn't matter how angry you are.
So I get it.
Good golly.
But I understand what you're saying. You take 9 minutes and you find the worst stuff that you can find.
I gotta speed them up.
Yeah, fair enough. And so you plan to appeal. You plan to provide more evidence and things like that, which is,
which is an absolute stupid plan because again, you're not allowed to present new evidence on an appeal. Look up appellate laws. You're not allowed to.
Absolutely, your guys is her right.
No, it's not.
I mean, do you feel a sense of responsibility to go along with her through this?
Oh, I think that anybody that's been as committed to Seth Rogers as she's been, that's part of being a team. You stick by your team.
Can you present new evidence in appeal? No. New evidence is generally not presented in appeal. Okay? They're just not allowed.
Teammates, and she's definitely a part of our team.
All right. Yeah, no, fair enough. So that aside, the ruling goes not in your favor, which is, I figured that it probably wasn't going to anyway. But, and a lot of that, by the way, because I don't really feel like Chris is scared of Betty at all.
He doesn't have to be.
I think that it was nothing more than maybe drum up another charge on her, try to humiliate her a little more.
You think it was for humiliation? I don't know. I would say wearing a t-shirt with somebody's face on it when you jump out in traffic and you know, angrily jump out of your car and run up to the car in front of you of somebody's parent. I would say that's done for humiliation. I would say purposely saying somebody's last name wrong repeatedly is done for humiliation. I also don't think Chris Proudfoot is actually physically afraid of Betty. She's still inciting an entire audience. And you don't know at that point who's in that audience. You don't know who at that point is believing what is being said. And believe me, the courts take that in consideration as well. But what baffles me is somehow Dog the Bounty Hunter was afraid of little old barbecue. Right? I mean, did they not put that in a cease and desist? That Dog the Bounty Hunter was no longer going to Tennessee out of fear of I think she said she's like 5'4" or something. Huh.
You know, put her through the ringer, kind of payback for,
Hey,
you know,
Steven.
maybe things that she said about them or the way that she feels about them. And I do think it was a bit of a retaliation tactic. You know, I think
even if it was retaliation, whatever, even if it was, how many times did Betty herself say that she's going to sue somebody because she doesn't like what they said about her? Matter of fact, she is actively in a lawsuit for just that. So what, nobody else is allowed to pursue legal action against somebody if they don't like what they're saying? Only Betty can do that? I think this is a dose of, I don't know, karma. The only difference here is that they actually had standing, and Betty's is done because she's petty and insecure.
of the protective orders is probably plenty. And it's like, you know, I mean, it's a lot, right? I mean, it felt and it feels like it was a retaliation. Is that what you guys think too?
Well, yeah. And I mean, look, you've been covering this case for a long time and you've seen all the antics that Chris has laid out there.
I was one of the first.
Chris
Yeah. I mean, you know, this guy has
all
been,
the antics.
I heard
Who's Chris?
the attorney for the
Chris,
Proudfoot say
nobody else.
that they just wanted to be private and wanted to be left alone. And then you've got this guy called.
You know, that's true, especially when Betty has, she is listed on the DV registry, right? Betty is a repeat domestic violence violator. She has put her hands on plenty of people, regardless of her size.
Calling in on people's shows, pretending to be Billy Bob Thornton, looking for attention.
I mean, that was,
you know,
weird,
he was on a platform tonight, a little bitty platform with some people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's far from.
What does it matter if it's a little bitty platform? What does it matter? A little bitty platform. What happened to your TikTok, Tony, that you transformed into going after people? You know, the one that was meant for Caleb Harris before he was found? When his family let you go for being a disgrace? Whatever happens at TikTok? That little bitty TikTok.
From Ben wanting to be left alone. I mean,
Little
he's not
bitty,
acted that
little
way.
bitty peen slip.
The laughing, the joking.
The
You know, you heard me
laughing,
say in the
joking.
interview, I talked to the
Christ.
court reporter for Court TV, and
Wasn't it on this channel right here that Seth Rogers bragged about spitting and putting hair in a pizza? That happened here, right? Where he sat there and they were, you know, giggling and he was all proud of himself. And so Seth's allowed to laugh and giggle and cut loose and pretend to, you know, be highly inappropriate on panels. But Chris Proudfoot's not allowed to even giggle? Oh.
she came out in the hallway and told us that she was disgusted.
The fact that they know what little itty bitty platform he was on tells me that they're definitely following him about. Because I didn't know about that little itty bitty platform.
That Chris looked at her in the middle of the case and winked at her.
Oh, wait.
That's not somebody who, first off, is serious about missing his stepson, and second, it's not somebody that wants to be left alone and kept in.
Hold up. All right, now I'm going to say, if Chris winked at the reporter, that's fucking weird, okay? I'm not going to deny that. It's odd behavior, especially given the circumstances. I would say it's odd behavior. But if he winked at somebody, that's somebody not missing their child. But Seth Rogers actually dated a woman, gave her $12,000, hit on several other women, including a professional PI. And that's all okay. That's all good. But if Chris winked, that means he doesn't miss his child. Wow. That is news to me. Who would have thought?
In private.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like I want to be left alone when I want to be left alone, and when I don't, I don't.
Well, I want to be left alone when you say something I don't agree with.
Yeah. Well, that's how I feel too, by the way. But that's not really how life works, is it?
Right. Exactly.
That's who, according to who? Who are all of you to claim that, yeah, well, he's a liar, Saints. He lied about it. Because he told me that he paid it, but wouldn't present any receipts, so I don't believe him. Who are these people to say that they have to talk when they want them to talk? That's what baffles me. Like, oh, leave me alone when I want to be left alone. He doesn't have to be left. I mean, they don't owe you anything.
So I get that. So, after that happens, here we go to court TV the next day. You sit down with Vinny, and it felt like there was kind of a shift, from voicing frustrations to direct saying, I think that they did something. My opinion is, I think, and by the way, what Seth said, and I'm sure people will criticize and some people will cheer. My personal opinion is he had every right, and he has every right to say what he wants.
He does.
Because nobody else is in his position and knows how.
But here's the thing. There are people in his position. The Proudfoots are in his position, okay? And again, everybody has every right to say whatever they want to say. But if anything you have learned from your recent experience is that you can be held accountable.
How he feels. And, I've seen Chris kind of go off the deep end.
Yeah.
But Seth didn't go off the deep end, but I've seen Chris go off the deep end and people go, well, he's got a lot going on. He's,
Well, okay. So that is true. There was a private phone call where Chris lost his shit a little bit, right? A private phone call. They tore him apart for that. He didn't just get away with it. The majority didn't excuse it. The majority still to this day judge him for it, like you just did, Josh. You just judged him for it. He went off the deep end. And a private phone call where it was being revealed his wife's personal trauma. Yeah, he lost his shit a little bit. Sure did. But these people over there have excused every situation in which Seth has been inappropriate or lost his shit. And I don't know. I think going on national news and claiming that the mother of your child never loved her kid is just a little worse than a private phone call in which you get angry. Just a little worse.
Seth should be shown that same grace and maybe more.
No, he shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the funny thing, Josh, is you've known Seth Rogers longer than I've known Seth Rogers.
That's true.
And, you remember the old Seth Rogers that didn't have a muzzle on him. And a lot of people loved to hear the genuineness from him. And a lot of people thought that he was unhinged. Well, when I came in, I put a muzzle on him. I tried to settle things down a little bit with him, get him under control a little bit. But, when you start taking the voice away of people that have been good to him, then what happens is we take the muzzle off of him.
All right. He tried to, control him a little bit, right? That part cracks me up. Take these damn headphones off. That part cracks me up because it was Tony that came out here because my understanding is the Proudfoots were willing to work with Seth. They wanted to work with Seth to help find Sebastian. What they weren't willing to do is have this non-credentialed supposed spokesman speak for them. They said, I'll work with you, Seth. Yeah, I think we should. I think it'd be great if we could come together and work together for what is better for Sebastian. But no, we don't want this so-called spokesman. We don't need him. And what did Tony do after that? Because his little ego was hurt. He said the gloves were off. And just like that, they were right back at going at the Proudfoots. So if Seth cared more about Sebastian, would he have gotten rid of this makeshift little, not spokesman and worked with the parents? Or would he keep where he's at? I mean, if there's one thing I've come to realize when it comes to Seth, in my opinion, he is very much, whatever is best for him. He wants everything his way. If it doesn't go his way, he will tear it apart. I don't think Sean had anything to do with Sebastian went missing, but I do feel he's a poor human and not a fatter but a sperm donor, not a father but a sperm donor, and telling Katie at 14 when he was 24, you'll be mine. Nope. It's horrible, man.
Right.
And what you saw was the muzzle being taken off.
Oh, no.
Was that something that was planned, or it just kind of happened?
It was 100% planned, and it will 100% continue.
And I guarantee if that 100% continues, they will 100% be back in front of a court of law. Listen. And the fact that he calls himself now a national spokesman, come on.
So this is the route now. You guys aren't being told anything from investigators. Seth isn't being told anything.
Great point, Pico.
I don't think that do you have any knowledge if Chris and Katie are in contact with law enforcement?
We don't have any knowledge of that. And quite frankly, there's been so many inconsistencies with things that Chris has said. I don't know that we'd believe him one way or the other.
Yeah.
See, at this point, if this wasn't a biased interview, this is where Josh would have said, well, what are the inconsistencies? What inconsistencies? And Peekaboo has a good point. If Seth wasn't so volatile and vindictive, then he wouldn't need a so-called muzzle in the first place. Needing a muzzle speaks to his lack of tact and control.
Yeah. I remember when he said that law enforcement told him not to take a polygraph. And I found that, any law enforcement officer that would give legal advice to, I wouldn't say a suspect or person of interest, but somebody that's directly involved, like in the circle of the case, would probably get in a lot of trouble for giving any kind of advice like that. So I don't believe that. I didn't believe
that's not legal advice. Recommending you don't take a television lie detector test is not legal advice. Why would you call that legal advice, Josh? And what part does that sound like is legal advice? Doesn't. It's not. Not only that, but why hasn't Seth taken one with TBI? Why does he think his Nancy Grace one, in which he failed the first time because he fell asleep, why does he think that one is just good enough?
that. I think it was kind of a way to skirt around it. I know there are people say, well, he took one. I don't know if he did or not.
All right, well, this would be the point where Tony should speak up and say he did. He did. Not only do we know that he did because, they all came out and said it, but Seth himself has stated that Chris and Katie have taken polygraphs. Seth's sister has stated that they've taken and passed. Seth's own mother has stated that they've taken and passed. Why won't they say that?
It was
TBI told our team directly that the same, if you want to call it advice, but the same statement was given to Seth and Chris and Katie, which is you can do what you want to do, but if you're going to take a polygraph, just please be careful that you know the nature of the polygraph and what you're going to be asked.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So TBI did say it. TBI did say it. Are you going to walk that back, Josh? That you just called Chris a liar saying TBI would never give legal advice? Because they did say it. And they said it more like I said they said it. Like, I don't know if it's a really good idea to, take a polygraph through a television show. But right there, he just said it. Just said it. Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I don't know. They might have said that, Jesnet. They might have said that. Matter of fact, even the PI that was hired by Seth while working for Seth said that, yeah, the TBI probably did say that. Unreal.
Yeah, but that's not the same as saying they told him not to.
It's not at all the same because that's
actually it kind of is. I mean, you just because they said it to your team in a different format doesn't mean they, first off, let me ask you all this. If TBI said anything even remotely close to what Tony just claimed they said, would you then take the polygraph? I want it. If TBI gives you any type of warning, would you then go through? No, I'm taking TBI's advice. I'm not doing it. I'll take TBI's polygraph.
Same statement was given to Seth before Seth went and took the polygraph with Nancy Grace.
So it did happen.
You can call it what you want to call it, but he lied to Nancy. He lied to a lot of people when he said we were told not to take the polygraph. It's just simply not true.
Right.
It simply is up into interpretation. They interpret it as TBI warning them not to take it. It's not a lie. They interpret it that way. But why did it take them this long to admit that TBI says similar to Seth? All these months of them saying that Chris was lying about that, now he comes out and admits that TBI gave a similar warning to them. Unreal. These people are unreal.
It's whenever I heard that, I found that utterly kind of ridiculous. But
all right,
I'm not there, and I don't know what's being said. But what
you're only hearing what you want to hear, Josh. To be fair, you're only hearing what you want to hear. And I love too that this whole chat was saying like the Proudfoots are guilty and they did it and they need to speak and where is Sebastian and all those things. But anybody who wrote anything not favorable to Seth, not even accusing him, but remotely not favorable, was deleted. Let's forward to when the spokesman lifts the muzzle.
Harsh order.
Well, because at that moment, you cross over. A lot of people don't know that protective orders are civil.
Thank you, Zam.
And
right. That's why the one next month is a criminal case.
Criminal.
Yeah, when you violate the POs or they determine that you violated the POs, at that point, things become criminal. So that's at that moment they've got out of hand.
Right. And Seth is joining us. Seth, we're kind of wrapping up the court stuff and
it got out of hand when Betty violated. I love that.
Talking about the shift in what you said on court TV. Now that you've had a day or two, how do you feel?
I still feel the same way. Hi, Josh. Hi, Mathis.
Hey,
how are you, Mr. Rogers?
Mathis. Hey, Mathis.
Boiling. Waiting for the weekend to be over so I can do something.
What? Do what?
What are you planning on doing? Do you have a plan, or is something you care to share? If not, I understand that as well.
Finally, a good question. What's the
I'm not sharing because
I'm not sharing. Listen. I'm gonna try to not talk down on Seth. I'm gonna try really hard. But why would you even open up the door to then sound like a toddler and be like, I'm not sharing? Then why say it at all? That's the immaturity that I can't stand, because at the end of the day, we are talking about a 15-year-old child that has disappeared from his home. And this is the type of juvenile, petty, ridiculous antics we are seeing. Now, I get why a lot of people are upset that the Proudfoots won't speak. I get it. But can you blame them? Would you jump head into this type of drama and unnecessary juvenile shit when your child is missing? Exactly. That's part of it. That's part of it. Absolutely. That they have to coddle his emotions while he's up there. I believe the reason why Tony and Betty consistently push against the Proudfoots is because if that agenda is gone, they are no longer needed. I agree, Moto. Absolutely agree with you. Right, but then if you dare speak against Seth, he'll call you a loser and all these things. And why? Because you think you're the only one that has this figured out? Hey, Poetic Justice.
In your chat, there's a lot of people that can still hear me. May not be able to see me, and I don't have to look at them. But I know that CP supporters are everywhere. I hope they enjoy supporting a child abuser.
I hope they enjoy supporting a child abuser. Now, I will say this. Again, I don't know what is so-called on these CPS reports. I don't know if Chris did something that we're unaware of that is documented on these reports. But I do know when Sebastian said that his father, Seth Rogers, was abusing him and CPS was contacted, Seth said that Sebastian lied and exaggerated the situation. Right? One thing that we can say without a doubt is there are absolutely CPS reports against both Seth and Chris. Poor Sebastian, man.
Because those are the people that nearly make me sick in this world.
Oh, yeah. Not you, though.
And
as a CPS report,
do you want to expand on that or just leave it there?
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, and I have asked the chat, and normally, this is a very charged, I haven't covered a lot of this lately. And
Admit
I
it.
understand that, Josh, because it's very controversial. I mean, well, no matter what it seems, it's like no matter what I said to people at the very beginning and have continued to say,
Thank you.
there's no sides but Sebastian. But
I love that right there. He would never, gamers, he would never come up here and take an actual interview. This part right here, right?
and have continued to say, there's no sides but Sebastian.
Really?
But everybody wants to make it about sides. And all I want from my side is to find Sebastian and bring him home.
Do you see how stupid he just sounded? Do you listen to yourself? Everybody wants to make it about sides. There shouldn't be any sides. Should only be about Sebastian. But all I want from my side. You have created the sides, Seth. You have done that. And I've pushed against it for months. And every now and then, the person that puppets me like a little parrot will say, there shouldn't be sides. But those hate channels, you created sides. You were willing to work with the parents until they were unwilling to use your fucking makeshift spokesman as a spokesman. And that was the problem. You cared more about not hurting Tony's feelings than you did the betterment of Sebastian, in my opinion.
There's no sides but Sebastian. But everybody wants to make it about sides. And all I want from my side is to find Sebastian and bring him home.
I mean, how can you not like literally hear the right there? You contradicted yourself. And all I want from my side right there. It didn't even take you 3 seconds later to prove who made sides. And not only that, Tony said sides, and so did Seth on Court TV. They both did. But when it sounds good and it might feed the audience and say there shouldn't be sides, followed up with all I want from my side.
That's it. I want to find my son and bring him home and make sure he is safe and healthy.
I do believe that. I do believe that. I do believe Seth wants to find Sebastian. I know many of you may disagree, but I full-heartedly believe that this man wants to find his child. I just also believe that he'd rather the answer be that the Proudfoots did something to Sebastian. I believe that too.
All right. Yeah, look, I agree. I think that the sides is probably the most detrimental. And I will tell you this too. I have a major problem, not just with people that attack you and accuse you, but I do have a major problem just in general with people talking about how bad of parents people are when they.
Meanwhile, look in your chat, Josh. Look in your chat. You're speaking directly to your audience of hate mongers who are in the chat saying what piss poor parents Chris and Katie are, none of which are being deleted. So how much do you really hate it? You only hate it when it's said against Seth, right?
They've only known what they've seen, through the media, and a lot of these people are absolute losers themselves that attack from behind a keyboard that probably wouldn't want their life put on display in front of everybody.
No, I agree with that because I've listened to somebody for months now say how bad of a mother Chris and Katie is, and how what a piece of shit Chris is, and how he shouldn't have been around Sebastian, blah, blah, blah. But if you dare even commentate on what they have allowed the public to witness while they're live streaming, you are a horrible person. Don't dare speak about their parenting in which they give us an open window to. When they're live sometimes twice a day into the wee hours and we're hearing things. Oh, no. But they can fabricate what they believe Katie did and what they believe Chris did and what life they believe Sebastian lived. If Sebastian had such a horrible life, why didn't Seth intervene? And here's my other question. I wrote this today. If these CPS reports are correct, if there are CPS reports that say that Chris hurt Sebastian so bad that he is now being labeled a child abuser, you're not close enough to your son that he told you what was going on? You didn't investigate or ask your son. You didn't see any signs that your son was being abused. Yeah, you're screaming that there was many accounts of abuse being covered up, but you didn't witness or realize anything was going on? Okay.
That's kind of how I figure it. The whole situation. I see it a lot.
That term keyboard warriors, Josh.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that term needs to stop being used, because if you're on a keyboard running your mouth, doing your little finger twitches, you're just a keyboard coward. There ain't nothing warrior about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the muzzle's off, as Tony has said.
So Seth, when you said, you know, if you support a child abuser, you know, people are going to say we don't have any proof. Are you going?
That would be very, very, very inaccurate.
Wait, we're on that back.
You know, people are going to say we don't have any proof. You know,
The muzzle's off, as Tony has said.
So Seth, when you said, you know, if you support a child abuser, you know, people are going to say we don't have any proof. Are you going?
That would be very, very, very inaccurate. You know, like I said, we have to be very, very careful, and we have to make sure our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted.
Do any of you know of a national spokesman that would sit on a YouTube channel and put out this type of shit? Do any of you know of a national spokesman that would be okay with the father breaking the law and passing around CPS records because you slipped up? Your little buddy over there slipped up the other night and try to walk it back really quick. They have made it obvious that they have read these reports. Matter of fact, something was stated during this stream that leads me to believe that Josh is in possession of those CPS reports as well. Now, I could be wrong. It's just what I picked up on. But I know without a doubt your little buddy over there did slip up and imply she saw them, which is against the law. Right. The CPS reports he written. I wrote those
But
CPS
to make that
reports.
statement that we don't have proof of anything, not specifically that, but anything that we come out publicly and say would be inaccurate.
Right.
I'll just take more focus away.
So there is proof, and you're just finalizing how you're going to present it. Is that what you're saying?
Just take their word for it.
That's exactly what we're saying.
Oh.
We want to make sure that we're acting within the confinements of the law.
But you won't, and you're not. Because revealing anything within those CPS documents are against the law. SF Investigates already made sure that they're aware, and not only that, but Steph signed a disclosure that he would not expose those, that they were for personal use only. CPS reports are just allegations, not facts for the moment until investigation. Well, let me ask you all this. If the reports were correct and there was abuse going on, again, I don't know if there is or isn't. I'm praying there isn't. But what if Sebastian been removed from that home by the police? Knowledge of the four stocks that claim Seth was abused? Of course not. You mean with the photo with the marks around Sebastian's throat? Of course they haven't.
You know, I did that interview and I said that they're hiding from the real law. I meant it. They're hiding from the real law.
What's the real law?
To me, Sumner County is doing anything and everything they can to cover themselves and protect them.
Oh, wow.
And they're abusing the law. The law is not to be abused. The law is there to protect.
The law is not to be abused. Betty broke the law and abused the law, but okay. Hey, Nanox.
The citizens.
Lord have mercy.
Against those who are willing to break it.
Wait, say it again.
The citizen in the law. The law is not to be abused. The law is there to protect the citizens against those who are willing to break it.
And that's what the law did the other day when they found Betty to be in violations of somebody's right and safety. And they placed 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 protective orders because they were protecting their citizens. Good morning, Polish.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I think that.
Oh,
but once again, you know, when we're talking about Sumner County, and I don't really know how these investigations go or play out, but I mean, they haven't said anything. I don't know when the last time they said something about this case was. Was it April?
You want to come up, Stephen?
April.
Wait, what?
Was it April? They haven't said anything. I don't know when the last time they said something about this case was. Was it April?
No, it wasn't. Because they came out and they gave the... Oh, let me show you guys this. Tell me this isn't weird. Hold on. All right, give me 1 second. Give me just a second. I gotta find it. Wait till you guys see this. This was weird. I gotta pull it up this way. I'm sorry. This had me so baffled. I'm like, what does this mean? I've never seen nothing like this. And I think you all feel the same way when you see it. So at the bottom, August 26th, Sumner County. Hold on. I want to pull up the original. This is copy and paste it. Let me play this while I do it.
April. It's been over 3 months since a particular person has said anything about their son.
Give me 1 second here. Mods, I'm seeing a ton of just weirdos in the chat. And if we need to turn on members only, then we can. But please just talk.
See, right there, I thought Seth was talking about the news, right? That's what I thought he was talking about. But then he says about Katie. Again, what does it have to do with Katie? Why does he need so badly for Katie to speak? All right, check this out. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Sebastian, you are asked to contact Sumner County Sheriff's Office, right? That's normal. We've seen that. But then it goes on to say, TBI, local FBI, the nearest American embassy, or consulate. Tell me that's not weird. I have never seen that on a Oh, all right. I see these messages. Sorry, guys. I have never seen that written anywhere else. I don't know about you all, but that leads me to believe that when this 50K came out, there was something. There's something that leads them to believe that Sebastian may no longer even be in our. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen this written on any other Amber Alert ever. I think they think that too, retired EMT, and it would make sense. You know, Seth says that there's a 1% chance that Sebastian was the victim of that. No, that is not what the chance is. It's not 1% chance. Janae, that's what I'm thinking. Do they think Sebastian was taken out of the country? Granny, I've heard Josh himself say, yeah, he's got a copy of something. Oh. It does. It does infer that. Maybe tribal land? I don't know. That is odd, considering all the traffic, and it does make me wonder. I think it's weird. I don't know.
Awesome. They're
I've
so
never noticed
rude
that.
Just I would never go into somebody's chat and act like that. Just get them out of here, please. Please. Or we can turn on members only or turn the chat off completely. I mean, this is why, you know, I don't like doing these. I like talking to you guys about it. It's just that people are absolutely nuts. Just
because again, there was anti-Seth comments, but respectfully, Josh, you allowed
so rude. It's crazy. No skin in the game whatsoever.
You allowed all the anti-Proudfoot comments that you could. So does that mean TBI, FBI are part of this cover-up? How does that work? Right. Like, you really believe even if Chris Proudfoot has some type of connection that made the local law enforcement not want, to investigate them, right? Let's say it was corrupt, okay? Small town politics, they got some money, they got some pull. Let's say it was corrupt. They would not be able to pay off the FBI, TBI, and local LE. There's just no way they have somebody that high up that would even be possible. I don't get it, man.
Well,
have a great day,
manners
Butter.
anymore
Thank you for being
What's
here.
that?
There's very little manners left.
Well, that's what happens. That's what
manners.
happens when
Says the man that sat on a panel and pretended to masturbate. Manners? Very little manners left? The man that laughed and bragged about putting hair and spit on a mentally ill person's pizza because 10 years prior they stopped taking medication and got them kicked out of their apartment? Wow. Manners.
This is what happens when you can hide behind a keyboard.
Right. That's why they're keyboard cowards.
Right. Let me see here.
Josh, you can always look at these cases and tell the people that are actively involved, they don't hide from anybody.
No,
no,
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard from a national spokesman. The people that are actively involved don't hide from nobody. What? Is that why you guys are so loud and seen? Because you're actively involved? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard that a lot of times the perp of a crime will be all over the crime scene. They'll be all over the news. They'll be overly involved. They like to revisit. Hello, Winnie. I don't know about any of you, but I mean, there's plenty of documentaries out there that state that. One guy, they figured out it was him because he kept reappearing. And the police were like, why does this guy keep coming everywhere? We're seeing him here. We're seeing him there. He's on this interview, that interview. They looked a little closer. And here, he was the one that committed the crime. He was the one that took the lady's life. I think the people that want to be seen and heard the most are the ones that have some, just like I started the stream off saying, confidence is silent. Those who are lying or they want to convince the masses because they can't even convince themselves, they're the ones that want to be loud and in your face and they want to be seen. They keep revisiting something that they claim was so bad, it was so hurtful, but they're the only ones that keep it going, those type of people. Because they have to make sure that they have the majority convinced. Let me convince you of why I'm not lying. I'll just keep revisiting it until all of you believe me.
Oh, I agree with that. And I do feel like the things that you guys have done is to push forward the case. I don't, and Tony, I've said this before, I haven't agreed with everything, but who cares? Like, that doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, that guy's an idiot, or I just maybe have not agreed with the way that some things have shaken out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And,
why don't you elaborate on that, Josh? Why don't you elaborate and tell us what particular things you didn't like?
I've always been respectful about that. We've had many conversations about different things that were being done.
Yeah.
But one of the things you always acknowledge is that you don't have all the facts. You don't know exactly why things are being done. You see that they are being done. And I've always taken the time to talk through those things with you and explain to you why we're doing what we're doing.
I've always taken the time to convince you why we're not wrong. Exactly. Because confidence is quiet. Insecurities are loud. Tony here couldn't even accept the fact that there were things that Josh disagreed with. He couldn't accept it. He had to convince him of why he's in the right. Why? Because you're in the wrong.
But at the end of the day, the guy that is steering that ship, in contrast to what a lot of people think, is Seth Rogers.
Right.
And there is not one move made that Seth doesn't agree with. There is not one move made that we don't talk in great detail about.
So you guys hear that, right? The person that's driving this ship that is ready to sink is Seth. Seth is the mastermind behind everything. Seth is pulling the strings on everything. When people say there's mouthpieces out here and there's puppets, these guys have confirmed that over and over again. Matter of fact, drop a 2 in the chat. Drop a 2 in the chat if you think that they are the reason these people are saying what they're saying. If they sit behind the scenes and they talk to these creators and they say, hey, I want you to push A, B, and C. They are absolutely pulling the strings to all of these people. And then they project that and they claim people are being paid off by the Proud Fuzz. People are being directed by the Proud Fuzz. They're doing this, they're doing that. I'll tell you what. I don't speak to the Proud Fuzz the way people think I do, okay? I'm one of the few people that have ever said if I were to believe that parents were involved, I would think it was Chris and Seth. That's my opinion on it. If I was to believe that parents were involved. I don't put Chris on a pedestal. I don't think he's this great guy. I think the guy is aggressive. I think he's loud. And I think he probably ran a very, very tight house. Probably too tight for a 15-year-old. But it doesn't mean that he did something to hurt that boy. And the biggest part that these people won't answer, my biggest question to them, and no, it's not, are you any closer than you were on February 26th? My biggest question to them is, why would they hurt Sebastian if they were capable and able to hand him over to Seth? Why would they take this big risk? It doesn't make sense to me. All these people that say, well, Chris didn't want Sebastian in the house. Sebastian didn't want Chris in the house. Okay, then he goes to live with his father. Wasn't that the plans? Wasn't Seth set for that? Why would they have to get, I mean, what do you think they're going to ask? It's just so stupid. Take this big risk instead of saying, let's just go ahead and give them to Seth. Doesn't make sense to me.
And quite frankly, a lot of these people that
I don't
giving
either.
opinions and causing problems and everything else, they don't have a child missing. And, you know,
that is what it says. The nearest American embassy. Yes. Was there an insurance policy? You take a wild guess, T-Dub, who has insurance on Sebastian? Isn't that weird? Oh, they all do it, Mama Duck? I didn't see that on any of them. Thank you so much for telling me. I looked at 4 other ones that didn't see it. You guys take a wild guess who had a life policy insurance out on Sebastian. I agree, and I said that the other day, Christina. They do, Robin. I listen, I didn't see that on it. I looked at 4 other ones on their list. I didn't see that. Seth has said it, mentioned it several times.
You know, we appreciate anybody that supports Sebastian.
We don't know that.
We appreciate anybody that supports Seth and finding Sebastian. You know, if you have your own opinion and you don't support Seth and you don't support finding Sebastian and you're not willing to look at all the facts in the case.
Why can't we just support finding Sebastian? Why does that have to be if we support Seth and finding Sebastian? And if we don't, that means that we are against finding Sebastian?
Then we're not really interested in what you've got to say.
If we look at the 4 pages,
right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, I there are things about this case that I don't know. I don't pretend to know. I don't listen to. I don't really listen to
the Gerber policy does. Hold on. Gerber life policy includes Kidnap and insurance. That's very interesting because if they can offer up some type of I don't know, I guess it covers ransom and extortion. I wonder if it would cover like a reward for the safe return of. Cannot sue for libel until what happened to Sebastian is determined, but once they can prove they are innocent, Spectre Profiles will sue. In my opinion, they should. They can seek that there be a federal injunction, which is what his team tried to do. His team tried to put federal injunctions to stop everybody from speaking. They can ask for a gag order.
Whatever gossip there is, you know, I mean, there's so much that has been said. And like I said, this is probably the first show or the first time I've done a lot.
They've deleted a lot of them, Kelsey. A lot of the initial panels that Seth was on has been deleted.
About Sebastian's case in probably a month. And, every time I do it, I'm reminded why. But at the same time, I also feel like that there needs to be some sort of balance. Like I feel personally, I personally feel
good morning.
That that there's not enough balance, that people are so one-sided, leaning one way or the other. And when the simple
But Josh, you do the same thing, and you create that environment in your chat by allowing those type of comments. You allow, I mean, I don't understand it, to be honest. Read more about the kidnapping. Kidnapping insurance, also called kidnap and ransom insurance, K&R insurance, or KR&E coverage, protects people from what can be a very expensive, on top of horrifying, ordeal of kidnapping, extortion, detention, and or hijacking. In most cases, the insurance reimburses the ransom costs rather than paying them up front. This article will explore variations of kidnapping and ransom insurance, including different types, options for personal or business use, and how to apply. The importance of kidnapping insurance. I don't understand it. Covers ransom reimbursement, professional negotiators, aftercare services, and additional expenses for recovering a victim and bringing them home safe. I think that's a little odd, but, I've never heard of nothing like that.
The fact is that Sebastian is the main focus of it. It's not about who wears what or who said what or
Sebastian is the goal. Sebastian has been my goal since the very beginning when this happened. Finding my son is all that matters to me.
And you could do everything perfect, Seth. I'm telling you, you could do everything perfect. You could say everything right. And no matter what, you can go to any single post, like a popular post, like say, Sports Center, MLB does one. They say something nice about somebody. And within the first 2 or 3 comments, you're going to see some jerk off say, just be rude. I mean, it's just how the internet works now, unfortunately.
That is true. You'll see it everywhere. Doesn't change the fact that these guys here have pushed people being rude to the Proudfoots. They have cheered it on. They have paid for it. You've earned yourself a steak for beating up the B-Sox. They've encouraged threats. You got Steph's team out there making threats to the point where I believe one's back in jail because of it. They have supported doxing people to try to silence them. I mean, the moves they have made to try to make people either push Steph's agenda or stop speaking have been unbelievable. And as somebody who's been on the receiving end of them, I don't appreciate it. They might not like what I have to say about Seth Rogers, but they don't have to like it. You don't get to take away the voice of every person you don't like speaking against what they see and then cry that one of your voices were silenced. Your voice was silenced because your person went way too far. Susan, I love that. Thank you for being here. And if anybody over on the quote-unquote opposite side, the hate channels, if you will, I'm so tired of being called a hate channel because I don't push the opinion they want pushed. And I'm sure all of you are so tired of being called haters and hateful because you don't push the agenda they push. Again, I have never seen not one of you that are in my chat today make such a horrific comment against these parents that I would be gassed at. But I've seen that quote-unquote side do it plenty of times. And yes, there are sides because they created sides. If anybody was over here doing to Seth what Betty was doing to the Proudfoots, I'd be one of the first to speak up and say that is horrible. Well, here's the thing, Allie. So I don't know about bad arms around this time. I don't know what you mean by that. I will say Chris had the marks on his arm, right? That was weird. We can't deny that. He's saying they're from a puppy. I don't know. It's weird. There's no denying that. But this is a man who claims his shoulder hurt so bad. an injury that was at least 10 plus years old, lied about it being a new injury. I mean, he told different stories regarding that injury depending on what panel he was on. It's all weird if you ask me.
And look, I've taken the brunt of a lot of stuff before, and I know that, Seth, I know that it's a constant for you, but you seem to be pretty good at ignoring it.
A constant for him?
A lot of the stuff.
You're not Seth. Shut up, Tony. You know what blows my mind? In the beginning of all of this, Seth was on a pedestal this high. He loved it. Matter of fact, the pedestal was so high that anybody, when he decided he was going to work with the Proudfoots, and he told everybody they didn't like it to F off. You guys remember that? When creators such as JLR, Dolly, and Pascal came out angry at the idea that he would work with the Proudfoots, he cared more about their support, because at that point it was financial. I don't know about now, but at that point it was financial, that he decided to no longer work with the Proudfoots. Imagine if we could go back in time and we can change that outcome and Seth stuck to the plan to work with the Proudfoots. Can you imagine where it would be today? The dignity that Sebastian's name would still have attached to it. They could have found answers. I don't know. I don't know what happened to Sebastian, but it drives me nuts. Because truthfully, I believe he went out to meet somebody that night. Right. Because it's not about helping find Sebastian. It's about painting how horrible the Proudfoots are today. Seth's passion that we saw unleashed, that had nothing to do with Sebastian, in my opinion. It was his anger at Katie and Chris because in his eyes, they won. And he can't stand to see them win.
Josh, it just doesn't help bring Sebastian home. And one of the things that Seth has been very consistent about
How's this going to help bring him home?
If it doesn't involve bringing his son home, he's not really interested in it.
What bullshit is this? Listen to what Tony says as they're threatening to release something in 2 weeks.
A lot of this stuff, Josh, it just doesn't help bring Sebastian home. And one of the things that Seth has been very consistent about is if it doesn't involve bringing his son home, he's not really interested in it. And
oh, really?
I've watched you over the last.
Oh, really? Did Sharon Sebastian's trauma help bring him home? Did talking about CPS reports help bring him home? Nothing they have done in 7 months have helped bring Sebastian home. At what point do you realize that none of this is beneficial to Sebastian and just stop? Again, people get angry that the Proudfoots aren't speaking, but they're speaking to law enforcement, right? Nothing they say and do at this point will do anything but feed the monster that we are all involved in. That's what I think the flashlight videos are. I believe they were flashlights. I don't believe they were a trash truck. I believe it was the only evidence they had of what took place that night. I don't believe it was meant to be public because they don't want to tip off whatever they have in that footage because they don't believe it's one of the parents. And that's why they tried lying about it, because the police can lie to us. I don't think any of that was meant to be for our eyes. But what I see in it is very different than what others say. What I see in that video, there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it like it's Katie meeting with Chris, handing over Sebastian, and going back in the house, right? I've heard people say that. The way I look at it, it could be Sebastian going out to meet somebody. He realizes when he reaches a certain point that it's not who he thought it was. His light goes back towards the house because he's running. It drops, and that person chases after him and grabs him. I'm sorry you feel that way, Susan, but here's the thing. So Seth is the one who's putting all of his information out here. He's the one that's opening this dialect. I think it's important to discuss it. When you have this man up here threatening that he's going to reveal something in 2 weeks, he has to get everybody hyped up for 2 weeks. Because it's that important in finding Sebastian. He wouldn't just do it now. And the threat at the end of the day is to show these CPS documents. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Few months, you know, I'll ask you a question if you don't mind. You've broken down a lot of those early interviews, and you broke down a lot of the early interviews that Chris and Katie have done, and you've pointed out some of the inconsistencies in those interviews.
Sure.
Multiple things that were said differently. The very next interview, they were answered differently. Very, very important details that were answered differently.
Can anybody name at least one of those details? And here's the thing, if Josh did that, good. I'll go back and look at them. I love to see the inconsistencies I keep hearing of, but I never see. But why didn't he do the same thing when it came to Seth? How can you ignore the blatant inconsistencies that have come out of Seth? That's just what drives me nuts. Acknowledge them all. I haven't seen any inconsistencies.
You've been working with Seth now longer than I have. Have you ever found an inconsistency in anything that Seth Rogers has ever said?
You've been working with Seth longer than I have. Working with. There you go. So he's not going to point out the inconsistencies because he's working with them. Don't you all think lying about your son having internet access is a huge inconsistency? Anybody? I think that's gigantic. Be honest here, Josh. Be honest.
No, not off the top of my head. I mean, I don't.
Oh, no?
Nothing that ever stuck out to me.
No. Oh.
No, I don't think so.
Internet access. Lying about that. Lying about if he was able to talk to people on the internet or not. No? None of that rings a bell? No inconsistencies there? Oh. Not just did he lie about internet access, but then he also lied about if Sebastian was able to communicate through the internet. Which I think is huge. I think that's the answer to all of this.
So you know, when people are aligning themselves instead of focusing on the child, you've got one side that has got many, many, many inconsistencies.
There they go again, right? When you got people aligning themselves instead of working for the child, and then he goes right into sides again. Ask yourselves again, who created these sides? He does get to act out, Susan. I'm not disagreeing with you there. But I think you have accountability for acting out to that extent. When you act out on national news and make the claim that the mother of your child never loved your child, and this is all because Betty was told to stop her stalking behaviors, I have a problem with that. Yeah, listen to them once again contradict themselves. This is about teams for them.
Child, you've got one side that has got many, many.
No, I don't think so.
So you know, when people
Gary.
are aligning themselves instead of focusing on the child, you've got one side that has got many, many, many inconsistencies. And as we said on Vinny's show, if you're telling the truth, you're not going to have inconsistencies because the truth is easy to remember.
No,
I'm going to put together a video of all the inconsistencies from Seth, and then I'm going to look and put together all the inconsistencies from Chris and Katie. And I'm going to put them side by side. That's what I'm going to spend the next few days putting together. Because I'm genuinely curious what inconsistencies they see. I don't see them. I haven't seen them. I'm going to look. Maybe I wasn't looking. I'm going to look. But I still don't understand how they can talk about there shouldn't be sides while they're then again creating sides. At what point does everybody stop? I don't get it. Yeah, he also said he has multiple phones. Yep.
You're right about that. Somebody said something about the internet access. I don't remember.
There we go. Internet access. You don't remember that?
I don't remember if that was an inconsistency or not.
You don't remember that big inconsistency there, Josh? You don't remember that? It was a huge inconsistency. He came out and lied about what type of video games Sebastian played. And when the truth came out, he said, oh, well, yeah, he did play those, but he wasn't able to talk to anybody. And then when it came out that he actually did talk to people, including Uncle Taco, who was at that point called Pickle Ass. Uncle Pickle Ass. Really? You don't remember that? And then he said, oh, well, yeah, you could talk, but we didn't have a headset. And then he came out and said, well, he does have a headset. Didn't you just do a stream on it, Titanium? Respectfully. So, I mean, I think there are huge inconsistencies there, and I can't believe you don't recall them, Josh.
I know Chris and Katie said that he did not have access to the internet at their house, but that he did with you, Seth?
No, tell the truth. That's not what it was.
He could get on my PlayStation and play under my account at any point in time. I didn't limit him. I mean, we're talking.
There he goes. He could play on my account at any given time. I didn't limit him. But now he's saying it was only the PlayStation again. That's what I think happened. I think he was lured. Susan, I do. Hey, crazy chicken lady. Oh, I get that, Allie. I understand why many people don't feel much for Chris. I do. But I don't get how people overlook these huge inconsistencies that would have been game-changing for people's perspective. But you know why? In my opinion, Seth lied about these big inconsistencies. Because from the beginning, he was determined to paint Katie out to be a monster. That's why. I think he was absolutely determined.
About a child that
15-year-old child
that I had asked many times, would you like to have your own account? And he says, no, Dad, I'd rather just play under yours.
All right.
You know, when you give the child the opportunity.
Oh, I thought you just did deleted interviews with. I was watching it this morning with Seth Rogers. Sorry. I don't understand how. Why can we just ignore these big things? Again, they would have changed the discussion for the internet. Of course, it was with adults because it was under his account. Which again, people are wondering. Well, if the police had something that had to do with internet, Lauren, we know by now. No, we wouldn't. Because they have to determine, okay, was it Seth playing or was it Sebastian? Who spoke to this person on this date? I think it would do a lot. I think it would do a lot to absolutely, it would take a lot. I mean, they need warrants. You need warrants through the gaming companies. If he was on Roblox, they have to get a warrant through Roblox and get them to cooperate. Roblox then has to do the work on their end. That can take a lot of months to get all that shit done. He got mad. I agree, Poetic Justice. And that's when it became a free-for-all against the Proudfoots.
Opportunity to grow. And you give the child the opportunity to make his own decisions.
Through the internet?
It's going to allow him to, when you give the child.
That's what the internet offers, the opportunity to grow and make their own decisions. No, Leandra, you're not blocked, hon. Not when you're saying your child has the mentality of a 10-year-old. I agree. It drives me nuts, to be honest.
Child the opportunity to
Can't
grow,
imagine how it makes
and you give the child the opportunity to make his own decisions. It's going to allow him to grow and blossom, bloom, and to grow up. But literally, it's like,
what?
He had his own on Netflix.
Yeah, if you guys notice, he doesn't say Sebastian very often. He's either the child or the boy or that boy or my boy. He's not very often, is he the child? I mean, is he Sebastian? That wasn't whispering, no. Seth himself said that Chris was not being aggressive with him in that picture. That the way they took the photo made it appear that way. Oh, are you really, Susan? Wow, I'm a real private investigator, specialized in same persons for over 30 years. I am retired now, and I'm a real advocate. I'm telling you, the way that it has to be is kind, is moral. Supposed to say I specialize in missing persons for over 30 years. Thank you for doing that. I imagine it was a hard job to do. So what do you ultimately think took place here? Yeah, people learn by, being out in the real world and socializing. And
he has his own profile.
His own profile on Netflix.
Wow. He should. He's 15. When I first got Netflix, he was like 6. So children's profile. Period.
Right.
So you can watch children-based stuff. So you're not watching,
So wait, he's saying the way for Sebastian to grow and become a person, blah, 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 is through the internet. Brings up Netflix, which is not the internet. But then he has it on child-based. What?
When I first got Netflix, he was like 6. So children's profile, period. So you can watch children-based stuff. So you're not watching, you know, blood, guts, gore, horror.
All right, hold on. Let's break this down really quick, right? He's 15 years old. No, Captain, I can't stand her. He's 15 years old, right? And he's talking about he needs to have internet access to be able to learn, grow, all that. But then he admits that he had him on a child-only account, so he can't watch gore and blood and all that. But this is the same guy who admittedly said that he sat down his 5-year-old to see a graphic Mortal Kombat scene to show him what an actual beatdown is. You guys recall that? An actual beatdown? Huh. Okay. All right. But we don't want him seeing all the gore and shit, right? Not at 15.
Children's profile, period. So you can watch children-based stuff. So you're not watching, you know,
It's weird. I don't know.
blood, guts, gore, horror movies, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's the same thing with the internet.
Imagine if the Proudfoots came out and said, "Oh, we kept him on, baby Netflix, child Netflix at 15." They would rip that apart. They would rip that apart. He was 15. He didn't need to be treated like a child, but he did. He did because he had the mentality. His father stated, I see you, Jay. His father stated he had the mentality of a 10-year-old.
I had conversations with my son. I told him, listen, you don't know these people on the internet. All right. The only people you should be communicating with are people that are on my friends list because I know them personally. I've met them. I've shaken their hand. I've known them for 10 plus years. So what's the point of, you know, and he's like, that's fine. He'd rather play with these people because they play the game and he's there to play the game, not chat. I mean,
Well, and the other thing too, Josh, is
I thought you said he didn't have a way to communicate with people. Hey, Roddy, little mama, thank you with the 503. If you haven't, please take a moment to hit the thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. I don't get it. On one hand, he says he was unable to talk to anybody on the internet. Now he's saying that he could. Which one is it?
we're talking, everybody wants to label Sebastian as an autistic child, but they forget that he was a highly
Nobody does it better than Betty when she calls him defective.
everybody wants to label Sebastian as an autistic child, but they forget that he was a highly functioning autistic child. And in a lot of situations, you wouldn't know that he was autistic unless he had been labeled as such. So if you consider him a fairly normal 15-year-old child, I would ask.
Who's been screaming that from the rooftops? To stop babying him and labeling him as incapable by placing that, well, he was a 15-year-old autistic child. He was a 15-year-old child that was recently diagnosed. I agree with what Tony's saying here, but they're the ones that told us that he had the mentality of a 10-year-old. So which one is it? It seems like when it's convenient for them, I just, oh my goodness. Hey, Diana. Right, Natalie. Most of us have been saying that.
Ask anybody that's ever had a child of that age, and I ironically have a 15-year-old of my own.
Right.
I don't know any 15-year-old child anywhere that doesn't have access to the internet. I've never even heard of that at that age.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't not have access. Let's make that very clear. He didn't not have access to the internet while he was at his parents' house. I'm sorry, at his mother's house. He has supervised access to the internet. Why are they trying to change that? Can anybody tell me where the Proudfoots ever said he had zero access to the internet? They straight up told you that he Googled Taylor Swift, that he loved Taylor Swift. Right. It's to justify the fact that Seth gave him unlimited, unsupervised access. The man who admittedly says his child needed to be on children's only Netflix at 15. And then you got his national spokesperson up there saying the opposite of him. He was supervised. That's it. Supervised. It's not a bad thing. And part of his thing was earning the internet access. That's what Chris said. It's not the way I do things. Just
I
because
don't
they
have it
did it.
either. I don't know what the point would be.
I mean, most of these kids have $1,500 iPhones at 15 years old, and they've got access to the
Much
internet
at
through
their
their
house,
phone.
right.
They've got access to, to multiple different TV platforms. They've got access to video games, and parents do monitor those things. But
And that's all the prophets said, Tony, is they monitored it. That's it.
I don't know any parent that would not give a 15-year-old child any access to the internet. I mean, that's where a lot of these kids learn and grow and research. And,
Why are you lying that he has zero access? They never said he had no access. This is the type of shit. But there's another inconsistency. There's another lie coming out of their mouths.
it's a part of their school and things like that. So to me, it's more odd that he wouldn't have access than that he would.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, he'd have access to the internet at school.
Right. I mean, with a lot of filters.
Particular person got upset because
He had access to the internet at his father's, not just at school, at his father's.
he had access at school to get his FFA certificate that was given to me by the school. He had to have internet access to take all the tests and stuff for it. And somebody got mad because he had it.
That doesn't make sense.
But yet,
That doesn't make sense because anybody who has a child in school knows that the school internet access is very limited, extremely limited.
that person also wouldn't show up at the school to be given it the reward or the award.
What was the reason that he was upset about it?
Because they didn't allow him to have internet access at home, and they were upset that the school gave him internet access to take the test and finish out the course.
I just don't believe that to be true, but let's see. Let's see.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pearls.
Right. I mean, the internet is accessible,
No, but I have saints. I have ears. I have ears that allow me to listen. And when you listen to Chris and Katie, they've never stated he didn't have internet access. What they stated was he has supervised and limited internet access. An example being, if he didn't clean his room, then he didn't get the internet access. He had to earn it. It was chores were done to earn his right to the internet access. That is what they have always stated. They've never stated otherwise.
all over the place. I really don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know that many 15-year-olds anymore. I used to when my kids were that age. The internet was what kids thrived on. They still do. You know what I mean?
15-year-old I know is my son.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody's online. Everybody plays. And I
No, Saints, I don't know more than the actual father. Seth knows this as well. He's just not saying it. If you listen, he's allowing Tony to push that lie. Seth knows the truth. Seth knows as well as we know because we all heard it.
I think the thing that people get mistaken is being on the internet playing video games is like different than going to chat rooms. I mean, it's different.
You can
it's not
chat.
the same. Like,
you
it's
can
not
chat
like
during these games.
You can exchange messages with people and stuff like that, but it's pretty like out in the open. If you're in a server or whatever, but it would all come back to your account, right? That's what you said.
Correct.
Right. And at this point, Josh, you know as well as I know that the prophets then the police then have to figure out, okay, well, who was using this account at this date on this time, which would take a lot of time, right? Maybe they're not done. Thank you, Summy. 10 months, girl. Love seeing you. Reason his internet was limited is because something that happened before all this. I bet you there is. I bet you there probably is, Lisa. He probably, or it could just be the fact that they knew that Sebastian, Seth said he had the mentality of a 10-year-old. Maybe they wanted to protect him from certain things. I don't know. I know there are a lot of parents that are strict on the internet. I wish I could tell you all that I'm one of them, but I'm not. Can it be? Proud to be a melon. MFR. I should be more strict. I've never heard that. I've never heard them say no internet access because how did he Google? Why would they come out and admit that he Googled Taylor Swift if he didn't have internet access? Let's see. Internet. I heard that he had to earn it. They didn't say none.
Right.
And they took my stuff and they went through it and they gave me all of my stuff back. They just never gave me Sebastian's stuff back.
Yeah. So when they returned it, what did they say to you?
Here's your stuff back.
So he got all of his stuff back, but Sebastian didn't get any of his back. He didn't get any of Sebastian's stuff back, which tells me that there's something on there they're interested in. I agree, Loxine. It's only getting worse. I don't think we were ready for it.
That's it. They didn't say,
No, they took all my electronics, and then what they do is they download everything from the hard drive.
Right.
Okay, so I have to give them all my passwords for all of my accounts so that they can access it. So I gave them all the passwords for all of my accounts. They had all of my stuff for 2 weeks, and then they took Sebastian. His grandma bought him like a tablet, like pad thing. And you know how electronics are if they run out of juice for a long period of time, and then you plug them in, and it takes a couple minutes for it to get enough juice to show you that it's charging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they took one of his electronics and they plugged it in, and it took 15 minutes for the computer to actually recognize that it was being charged.
What does that have to do with anything? I don't think that has to do with any. I think that's weird to even mention. Does anybody recall when Steph said that Microsoft reported him? That's how I feel, Toots.
They turned it on, and the detective looked at it, was like, well, this hasn't been used since 2021. I'm like, yeah, he used it when his grandma gave it to him in Texas for Christmas. We got home, and he set it over there next to the charger and hasn't turned it back on, and it died.
To remember what happened 2 years ago, that's impressive. It seems it. I still don't understand the whole Microsoft thing. When he said Microsoft reported him, that was bizarre. I don't get that.
They still have that. Something that hasn't been used in 3 years is evidence that he might have been online. And when
there you go. Listen to what he's saying. They kept a tablet, despite it supposedly not being used in 3 years. They said it's evidence. I'm telling you, I think this was an internet lure. I think it was a predator. I do. I think it goes all the way back to the internet. And I think Seth knows that they think that too, but Seth rather blame the Proudfoots. And I think he is intentionally and purposefully lying to everybody about internet access because he doesn't want the public to know that. Something weird here. I don't know. I don't think the parents had anything to do with anything, but I think he's so angry at Chris and Katie because it happened at all that he'd rather continue to push that instead of pushing the fact that his son was possibly a victim of an internet predator.
When you look at it, he's got his Google account. Well, his Google account is underneath my Google account. So anything that he does on his Google account, I get an email about it.
Yeah.
Get an email every week that says where he's been, what he's been looking up, everything, because it's literally a parental account.
Did he know that you could see it?
Huh?
Did he know that you could see his activity?
No.
Yeah.
He said he hadn't used it in 3 years, so I don't know.
Because I remember I used to do that with my kids, and I would tell them, I can see everything that you're doing. I just want you to just know that. I could, and it wasn't, to me, it's not spying or anything. It's just, I just wanted them to know that, I monitor what goes on. And that's what, some parents tell their kids and some don't. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer.
Well, to have the freedom. And if I had gotten a report and looked at it and thought, well, this is kind of, a little bit iffy, then I'd ask him about it. But most of the time, he was on YouTube watching videos. He was on YouTube watching videos. And the worst part about it, in my opinion, is he would watch videos on how to deal with being bullied.
Oh. I want to see one of those reports that show he was watching videos on how to deal with being bullied. And you never intercept it. You never interject it. That breaks my heart if that's true, but oh my God.
That means he's using the internet to teach himself on how to deal with problems in his life.
As a resource.
Which is what it's supposed to be. People ask questions, yet you got, a $1,500 phone in your hand, and you can't have enough common sense to sit there and Google search it.
So he had a $15 phone in his hand. I see you, Trap. I was highlighting them. I read a few of them. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I would take that information, and then when I had conversations with my son, I would incorporate that into my conversations.
Right.
Because I want to be there for him.
Yeah, it was mostly Minecraft.
I want to be able to teach him what I know. So that way he doesn't have to go to the internet. He's got it bad.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
look, the internet is part of life. It really is. It's a huge part of life now. I mean, none of us would be talking right now if it wasn't for the internet. It comes with a lot of good. It comes with a lot of bad. But I mean, it is a resource that almost every job uses. I mean, Tony, I'm sure you use the internet for your job, and Seth as well. Everybody.
Hey, Karen.
Yeah,
So it's
called Minecraft.
It's weird. It is strange to cut off that kind of access from.
I mean, if you look at it, the fact is that there were people in that neighborhood.
What I don't understand, again, they're trying to imply that they cut off Sebastian's internet access so that he couldn't reach out to help because he was being abused in that home. That's what they're claiming. But let me ask you all a question. Which set of parents was going to send him to do online schooling? Take him out of in-building schooling? No, because we're not responsible for what SF says. SF is not on a team. Right. Seth was going to put him on online schooling, right? Okay.
That knew he exists because the bus stopped and he would get on and get off, but they didn't see him. They didn't see him playing with other kids in the neighborhood.
What does your neighbors have to say? Did they know, besides the fact that he'd be in a parking lot, driveway, I'm sorry, waiting for you to come home from work? Did he play with kids in your neighborhood? Didn't they just move there a year ago?
And if he didn't have internet access or any type of access in the house, then I'm sorry. I know people in jail that have internet access more than my son did.
Yeah,
you don't need internet access to make friends. He had a cell phone. He went to school. He's 15. 15-year-olds normally aren't out there playing anymore. They're not out there hanging out and playing.
They absolutely do have internet in jail as well. People have tablets in jail. I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. I can't believe it. I
have to make sure that they all, hey, come charge your tablets because I'm closing down the charge box,
Oh, so they don't have to turn those in. It's just they can't charge them till the morning or something.
Well, when you go into lockdown, you can either have it on the charge so that it's available when we serve breakfast, or when it dies, it dies.
No, that's interesting.
I can't believe sorry, losing my thought here. I can't believe that people in jail have unlimited access to tablets. That drives me nuts. That's crazy.
Charlie Bishop says here, Court TV removed yesterday's interview. Is that true?
I don't know. I talked to Justin a little earlier tonight, and he said that it was up. He said that it was part of the entire show, so it may not be under Sebastian's name.
And it might not also be on YouTube. They do have stuff that's
crazy,
exclusively on their website as well.
Yeah, and Southwest 4x4, we agree with that.
Friends for Christmas one year.
It's just the optics in this case don't change. And if we believe that Chris and Katie were told not to go out and search for their son, which is what they alleged early on, I would simply ask you the question, Josh, if one of your children were missing, would somebody...
Stop with your, I would simply ask you the question. Here's the real question I have. Why doesn't Seth speak up and say, me and Chris did search early on. We searched together. Why doesn't he say that? Why doesn't he admit that? Secondly, when and where is Seth searching? I'm so tired of this idea that none of the parents are searching, because none of them are searching. You can't say the Proud folks aren't searching when the fact of the matter is neither is Seth Rogers. And then the Proud folks do go out and search, and they're told it's only a photo opportunity. Yet the only parent I ever saw take a photo and send it into the news stations was Seth and Tony. Tony took a photo of Seth in the boat, sent it into the news station, and it said courtesy of Tony Mathis. Is that what the Proudfoot should have done? Because one is a photo opportunity to appear like you're searching. The other was a group of people out taking a photo with a drone. It had no other real intent other than SF said, hey, smile. Oh, gosh.
Somebody be able to convince you not to go look?
No.
I mean,
No.
there's
and I'm not being dramatic when I say that, but God himself wouldn't convince me. Really?
Yeah, I mean, and there's just too.
Seth Rogers admitted they were told not to search. He never remembers what he says. I don't know if I remember that either, Jesnit.
Too many things. I mean, generally, if you know that you left your iPhone on the table, you're not going to go looking for it because you know where it is. And that's generally when people don't look, is when they know where something is.
There they go implying again. Again, when's the last time Seth Rogers was out there looking? Anybody? When was the last time Seth Rogers was boots on the ground looking?
So the optics in this case are what they are. We didn't create them. We didn't create Seth's optics. He created them.
Yeah, and they don't look
good, bad, or indifferent. Seth's body of work, since his son went missing, is his body of work. And Chris and Katie's body of work is their body of work. And, we didn't ask them not to go looking. We didn't ask them to not take a polygraph. Those are decisions they've made, and they have to live with those choices, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah, and I'm going to address this comment really quick.
They did take polygraphs. And this is true. Keisha has a great point here. I don't understand why you're worried about Chris and Katie searching for Sebastian. Why don't you go search for him? Why don't you stop sitting on the internet saying everything the Proudfoots aren't doing? And I say this all the time. I do. I say this all the time. I'm so tired of people telling others what they aren't doing right, how they should do things, instead of just doing it themselves. Lead by example. If you think the Proudfoot should be out there searching, then you go search. Like, why worry what they're doing and not doing? You go put yourself to action. I know, even in the beginning. And when he did, he said to JLR, make sure you have me on tape searching. Hey, up to good. He has a search since before Easter.
Here, Keisha says, I don't understand why you worry about KP instead of searching for Sebastian.
He knows
the problem is that Sebastian went missing on their watch. I mean, what do you mean? Worry about them? I mean, they're at the center of this. If he was with Seth when he went missing, Seth would be under even much more scrutiny.
That's true. He would
than he is now.
He would be.
And he was far away at work.
But again, this is why there's sides, because there's always the whataboutism. Well, you guys are judging Seth, but what about Chris and Katie? That was the whole point of Keisha's comment, is stop with the whataboutism. Stop. Stop focusing on them and focus on your son. And they still couldn't do that. They still couldn't. They still had to bring it back to Chris and Katie.
Yeah, Josh, and no disrespect to Keisha, none at all. But, Keisha, if you have a child and that child goes missing on your watch, everybody's going to be worried about you.
Of course. Wow. I don't understand that. I get what you're trying to do. I get where you're trying to go.
Thank you, Kesha.
But I mean, you're short a couple bricks to get to the platform, because it just doesn't.
No. The problem is you knocked off the bricks instead of realizing what she was building there. You literally proved her point, that there is nothing these people can do without the whataboutisms.
Makes sense. Of course, they're going to worry about Chris and Katie, because I think that, I would be hard pressed to find people that would say that they don't know more than what they claim to. And
what again, though, like Keisha's really saying here, what difference does it make if they're searching or not? Does it prevent you from searching? If anything, don't you think if they did know where Sebastian was, they would just direct searches in the opposite direction? Like, I don't know, like Seth going all the way to a state park that was nowhere near where he disappeared from?
one thing I have heard is that Chris says, in time,
No, of course not.
I can't remember where I heard him say this, but he
it?
said something about in time, more questions will be answered. Have you guys heard him say that before?
Yeah, we've heard him say that. We've
I've
heard
heard
him say
Seth
that
say that.
Sebastian will never be found.
No, he didn't.
We've
Not
heard
what
him
he
say
said.
that this will be a case that will be studied for years to come.
That's not what he said either. Do you see how they pick and choose what was said? I've never heard him say Sebastian will never be found. Never. What I did hear is him say this was the largest search in the state of Tennessee, and it will be studied for years to come. They always leave off that part. They always leave that part off. Because it makes such a difference. And they have the nerve to talk about that everything they presented in court, the 9-minute video was all clipped and there was no context and blah, blah, blah. This is the true example of them taking away the context. He said, LE will study this for years to come. It was the largest search efforts in Tennessee history, and it will be studied for years to come. I've made the mistake of thinking he said just studied for years, saying that's weird. But no, he was talking about the search efforts.
Those aren't things that a normal grieving parent would say.
Great point, Saints. Why don't they play him saying these things?
Gotcha. No, I mean, I think that if there is, when he said that, and I cannot remember when he said that.
Of course you can't, because he never said it.
It wasn't that long ago. I don't understand if there's other things that can be said.
Why is he saying
now's the time?
Really? Meanwhile, you got these guys on your panel saying you have to wait 2 weeks for them to put out game-changing information. Put a 1 in the chat if you realize the hypocrisy of all of this. Saying if they have information, why don't they put it out? Meanwhile, these guys are dangling a carrot. Wait 2 weeks. We have ground-changing information. It's going to break everything open, but you have to wait 2 weeks to hear it. Why don't you say the same thing to them, Josh?
Yeah. What are we waiting on?
I mean, what, 7, almost 8 months?
Oh, almost 8 months. Now
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
Josh, I've spent probably 3 or 4 different full weeks in the Hendersonville area since, in the last 5.5 months, I guess. And the overwhelming majority of the...
How many of those weeks did you spend searching, Tony Mathis? To say you spent so many weeks in Tennessee, but there was only one time where you guys lied and said there was 40 searchers, and you did searching that day, and it was a boat.
The community feels the same way we do. Their opinion is exactly what our opinion is, which is that Chris and Katie know what happened to Sebastian. And you can talk to 100 people in that community. You can even talk to law enforcement officers that don't know you're involved in the case, and they'll tell you that the overwhelming majority of the community feels that they have something to do with this.
So is the law enforcement being paid off by the Proudfoots, or do they believe they have something to do with it? Write that down as another contradiction of Team Seth. Law enforcement will tell you that they believe the Proudfoots are guilty, but yet we're paying off the Proudfoots. They're paid off by them. Oh, which one is it? They got Ellie in their payment pocket, or they believe they're guilty?
So we're not in a minority,
right? I mean, or knowledge.
Or knowledge, yes.
Yeah, right.
And something to do with it would be having knowledge and not sharing it.
Of course. I mean, if you have any, look, they don't have to tell the public. And if there are things that are nefarious that they have talked to law enforcement about, then fine, but they don't have to tell the public that.
Then why are you making it because they haven't told the public that they're holding shit back? Meanwhile, your buddies are talking about in 2 weeks, we're going to give you all information.
It's not illegal.
Is that when the next visual is? 2 weeks? 2 weeks from now?
Legal to lie to the public. However, it is illegal to lie to law enforcement. And that's just where it is. And I hope.
Like about internet access?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like, because none of us know what went on, in the interview rooms, but
nope, none of us.
It sounds like they just flat out say they don't know anything.
That's
and
if they just flat out say they don't know anything, then how do they contradict themselves so much? I don't get that.
It just contradicts.
No,
they back law enforcement. and they're putting all their trust, hope, and faith in law enforcement. But it's law enforcement that's telling us that there's no proof that that child ever left the home.
So,
oh my golly. Didn't Tony just say that law enforcement thinks the Proudfoots are guilty? Which one is it, Tony? Is it what you said 3 freaking minutes ago, or is it this? They don't even know what they're saying anymore. Let them talk. They talk.
That was told to you. That was told to you guys directly. Is that right, Seth?
That was actually stated in the last time Craddock did a public announcement or whatever they call it.
Who said it?
Craddock.
It was a press conference.
There.
Okay. And so they just said that they have no evidence that he ever left the house.
Correct.
What do you take from that? I mean, I know what I take from it, but what do you take from it?
Well, you heard what I take from it when I decided to tell Vinny yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're breaking the case down, there's very few ways again that he could not be still in that home and there be no evidence, meaning no Ring doorbell cameras, no dog scent, and the only thing that I can come up with is that he left in a vehicle. He gets out in the garage in a vehicle and leaves that way.
There's something strange to that middle.
Let's look, because I can't find where anywhere in here they say there's no evidence that he left the house. There's no evidence that he left the house. I can't find that.
The weather is rolling in. We've got time for some questions. So, yes, ma'am.
I was a few minutes behind, so sorry if I missed it, but has there been any indication at this point of foul play or anything of that nature?
There is no evidence to support foul play is involved in the disappearance of Sebastian.
So at this point, you don't.
He's really low.
We're not ruling anything out.
So 5 weeks, and you guys covered so much ground. Searching,
Where, Saints?
going back,
Where?
researching, checked out every case of a possible sighting, nothing confirmed. Not a trace.
Saints, can you direct me to where it was said? Because this is the press conference. And I haven't heard it yet, but we're going to play it.
Sebastian, anywhere, nothing found. No footprints, no video, nothing.
Nothing that is taking us to locate Sebastian.
And are there any working theories?
So even right there, he said it's not that there's any evidence. He doesn't say there's no evidence. He says there's nothing that has taken us to Sebastian. He's very careful in the way he's speaking. Yeah, it's very hard to hear it. But he's not saying there's no evidence. He's saying none that led us to Sebastian.
We come up with theories almost daily and try and investigate and make sure that we're doing everything we can to find Sebastian.
Share any of those?
No, sir.
2 questions, if I may. Have you ruled out Sebastian's mom and stepdad's involvement in this case? And as a follow-up, have you cleared their alibi?
I think the TBI said it best. They've been nothing but cooperative with law enforcement since day one of this investigation. There is no evidence to support foul play on the part of Sebastian's parents.
Is that moving to Memphis interfering at all with your investigation? Is it changing possibly the avenues of communication?
All right, let's check the sit down one. Let's pull up this one then and see if it's in this sit down.
Talking a bit about an update on the
Yes, we
search
can hear
for
it.
Sebastian Rogers. Just, this is the first time we've heard from you in a while, and that's because you guys have been busy investigating.
That's right.
Anything new to report at this stage?
No, sir.
Nothing. 5 weeks.
No, sir.
Just ask me, what is being done at this point? What does the public need to know that you continue to do?
We continue to investigate and follow up on every tip or lead that comes in.
Any evidence of foul play?
There was no evidence to support foul play.
But you can't rule it out necessarily. You're ruling nothing out at this point.
That's right. I'm ruling nothing out.
And as far as the public, what you could ask them to continue to do?
Remain vigilant. If they see something, say something. Call 1-800-TBI-FIND or 615-451-3838 with any tips or leads.
Okay. We'll have much more on this story to come.
So it wasn't that one, right? Let's try this one. They're swearing it was said in a presser. I personally never heard it, but we'll find out.
I am Eric Craddock, ERIC-CRADDOCK, and I'm the Chief Deputy at the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. I'm joined today by Susan Nyland, SUSAN-NILAN.
That's what Nick Barris has up on his thing, Feisty Nana. That's the only thing Nick Barris has up there. I mean, it played out pretty complete, but so I don't know.
D of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. She's the PIM. I also have with me Sumner County Emergency Management Director Ken Widener, KENWEIDNER. You guys ready? All right. Morning. I'm Eric Craddock with Sumner County Sheriff's Office, and we're going to come to you today with an update on the Sebastian Rogers case. Sebastian has been missing since late February. The investigation remains ongoing with steadfast support from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, and many other local and federal resources. We are exploring every lead that comes in and every tip that comes in. As I said before, the investigation remains ongoing. The entire community is deeply saddened by what has occurred. We're all extremely concerned for Sebastian's welfare. I want to encourage the community to stay vigilant, to report anything that they think may be of some significance to the investigation, no matter how minute it may appear to be to you. Please call 1-800-TBI-FIND with any tips, or the Sumner County Emergency Communications Center at 615-451-3838. We understand the anxiety and the concern that this case has caused in the community. We too share the anxiety and concern for Sebastian. I want to reiterate that we are doing everything we can to find Sebastian and bring him home. Despite the passage of time, the commitment to finding Sebastian remains unwavering. I said this when we scaled the search back.
Well, that's a funny one. Ask me about my butthole.
Our commitment to finding Sebastian remains. We will continue to investigate every possible lead that comes in. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office wants to express our gratitude to the community and the many individuals who have helped in the search, the many individuals who have called in tips, the many individuals who have printed flyers and kept Sebastian's face in the news. Nothing would make me happier than to wake up tomorrow morning with a tip that cracks this case wide open and we find Sebastian and bring him home. At this time, I'll turn it over to Susan Nyland from the TBI.
Thank you, WG. Hi, good morning. Thanks for being here. We know how invested everybody is in the search for Sebastian, in finding out what happened to him and bringing him home. And we want to let everybody know he has not been forgotten. Nobody's forgotten about him. Nobody has given up looking for him. At the beginning of this investigation, there was a large land search for him. It was very visible. There were also waterways, lakes, ponds that were searched. There were aerial searches with helicopters and drones and fixed wing planes. They were done at night. They were done on weekends. They were done during the day. That was very visible, and it was something everybody was able to see. But we want to let you know that even though there is not that high visibility in investigating this case, that we are not done. It's gone back to what could be considered good old-fashioned police work. Interviewing individuals, re-interviewing individuals, checking out leads, rechecking leads. We have been working with other law enforcement agencies who have had, in other jurisdictions, who have perhaps had some complex cases of their own that they have worked on to get tips from them. We have had, this day of technology with everyone having cell phones and doorbells and ring bells and surveillance cameras. That, as you can imagine, has been a bit of a chore to be able to collect all those and then review them. It's important so we know what.
Look how cute the audit accounts have woken up. Hey guys, hope you're all having the day you deserve. Good morning to all of you. You think you're slick with your little cutesy audit accounts. And it's the same one because they're just going to keep coming. Hey Kamala, good to see you.
What's out there. We have been reviewing that, reviewing it again.
Hi, Kamala.
We have had other agencies involved. The FBI has been helpful in that. Secret Service has also been helpful in that. So we are just trying to do whatever we can to advance the
Secret Service. Again, if they were paying off, right? Let's say they were paying off LE, whatever. You think they could pay off the Secret Service as well? Honestly. Oh, wrong one.
Investigation. It has not gone to a place where anybody has forgotten about him or is not pursuing this. The parents.
Foul play.
Again, you guys say Craddock said it, but has there been he doesn't say it. I don't know where you guys are getting that he's saying these things at. Transcripts. Let's see. House. He doesn't say it anywhere. I mean, to keep playing it when it's not there. Again, if one of you who claim that they said that during the press conference can direct me to where it was said, I will absolutely highlight it. I think that's important. If they said there's no signs that he left the house, that is important. I can't even find it quoted anywhere. Leaving the house. I don't know. Again, if you guys can tell me where that was said, I would love to play it. I think it's very important. But I'm over them today. To isolate him further. Maybe. Listen, if it comes out, Mama Heart, if it comes out that Sebastian was being withheld from the internet so that he wouldn't speak and all. But here's my thing with that, right? My biggest thing with that is if that is the case, you would think the Proudfoots would have also homeschooled him. And the only person that tried to homeschool Sebastian was Seth. I mean, just taking away the internet isn't enough to take away his access to speak out and reach for help. Maybe, you know, I don't know. I'll tell you what, maybe there's something that we are missing, right? I've always said there's something that's missing. What I really genuinely believe is missing is the picture that we've been painted of Sebastian as a child in whole. Hey, Crime on My Mind. Good morning. Oh, Granny Annie's, good to see you. But what I don't understand, if it isn't said anywhere by Ellie, then why spread this rumor? Homeschool via internet alone while Sean works. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. But that's what he said. He said he was going to have Sebastian doing online schooling, not homeschooling. I'm sorry, there is a difference. But he did say he was going to be doing online schooling. And that's one of the reasons Sebastian supposedly didn't want to go live there, is because he didn't want to do online schooling. But instead of them, you know, trying to instead of them harming Sebastian and getting rid of Sebastian and doing all of that, why wouldn't they just hand custody over to Seth? These are things that don't make sense to me, which is why I don't believe any of the parents are involved. Oh, Violet, I hate when I have a headache. I truly and sincerely believe that Sebastian is a victim of an online predator, and or he ran out that house that night upset. Maybe, just maybe, listen, maybe he overheard Katie and Chris on the phone, and I've said this from the beginning. He heard something that upset him. He just spent this great day with his mom. Now his mom's on the phone with Chris. He doesn't like Chris. He's not getting along with Chris. He gets all upset. He runs out the house. Maybe he just ran and gosh forbid, he's somewhere in those woods. Maybe he tried to hide for the night. Maybe he got away and he's living this fantastic life somewhere else. You keep hearing Tony and Weirdo Taco, who came in here and once again threatened us, talking about these homeless encampments and people that help runaways hide. Maybe that's the answer. Isolate, right, little bits, but instead they're going to say that, you know, him having limited internet access was trying to keep him from speaking up for need and help. Why wouldn't he tell his father who he's so close to, if that was the case? It just, none of it makes sense. When you break it all down, it just doesn't make sense. The only proof, in my opinion, would be, Terry, is that he's not here. There's no proof of anything. That's the biggest problem. We actually played that during the press conference as it came out. That was back in April or March, I believe. And that's exactly what I think happens. And I think that's why Sebastian's devices were never given back. I think that's why Microsoft reported Seth. I think they're looking for something like that. And you got to remember, those type of things don't come easily. They have to have search warrants. You have to have these big corporate companies work with you. You have to have them, dig through the accounts. And there's a lot of work behind that. I'll say what I always said. I don't believe Seth Rogers is actually guilty of Sebastian's disappearance. And I do believe in my heart that Seth misses Sebastian. But I also believe in my heart that Seth is so angry that this happened on Katie's watch that he's more focused, and his anger is more focused, at them than it is on finding Sebastian. That's what I think. And I think it's sad, and I think it is a disservice to not only Sebastian, but also to Seth. And it sucks that the people that are around Seth are hyping him up to direct his anger at the Proudfoots instead of hyping that energy into finding Sebastian. He wasn't just Chaba, a teenage boy filled with hormones trying to figure out life between two different homes. That's what Seth oddly said. I'll post the clip, but that's what he said. He said Microsoft reported him. It was weird for all of us. But based on who he associates with and his lack of parenting, Sebastian got groomed by an online pred. Possibly, Genevieve. You believe he knows exactly where he is? That feisty Nana is how I feel. Like I just can't get past his vendetta against him. I don't get it. If I believe there was a kidnapper, they would have told us locals. I don't agree, Taj. I don't agree. Because when it was asked, are our kids in danger, right? When that was asked, they were told you should watch your kids at all time. You should keep an eye on your kids as well. I mean, you don't need the police to tell you. Like, hey, there's online predators. You should know that as a parent, right? You should know that. Yeah. And they're now removing the ability to talk through Roblox, which is great. That's what their answer was, Jay. When Binocular Bonnie called in, that's her name, right? And said, do I have to be afraid of my kids? Are my kids in danger? They said you should watch your kids all the time. It could be, Jay. I just believe that the internet was the access that they had to Sebastian. And I don't know. You should always stay vigilant. Bobby, that's her name. Right? Everyone should watch their kids. It's common sense, right? Online predators are everywhere. I just think it's a lot easier. But Cannon, that's not what he said. It's being shortened, right? It's being taken out of context. Because I believe that too, Cannon. I was with you. I'm like, ooh, he said that? That's freaking creepy. But the truth is, what he said is, this was one of the largest searches in Tennessee history, and it will be studied for years to come. And he meant that as the police will study it. I don't know. Listen, I know people feel how they feel at this point, and it is what it is. I just think we're all doing an injustice by rolling out things that the police haven't rolled out. You guys know how people keep talking about the so-called neighbors that disappeared? Well, I got their names. And I'm going to do a little dive. We're going to have to do a little dive and see. Because people are claiming that these were neighbors that were living next to Seth, and then they moved right. I mean, there was this whole weird thing behind it. So we'll find out. Ellie, no one has been cleared. No evidence of foul play. We're still investigating. Statistically, there are so many trafficked kids in the U.S., and how many are by the parents? Look at this. Let me show you guys this. I'll tell you what. This is what I can say. You guys can take a minute and watch this video made by Spudler when you have chance. She breaks down the possibility of a guide to online grooming for parents. She puts the statistics. She puts all that from CA and moved here because of Seth, and then moved shortly after Sebastian disappeared, right? About which part, crime on my mind? Take days to search that park. It would take even longer to search the internet. You need warrants for everything. Happens all the time. Hey, Lori, facts, not feelings. Within days, right? You want to come up, Truth? I just only heard of the actual, like, repeating of that. I never heard where, the directing of it. Why was Seth homeless if he had people in Cali? Why didn't his parents take him in? I don't know. There's so many questions to be had. Why is Seth now mentioning, all these? Why is he harping? After Betty is told to stop, why is he now harping and claiming that he is withholding information that he'll drop in 2 weeks that are going to make people see things so differently? We're all going to find out what a big, abusive piece of shit Chris is. Why wouldn't you do that now? And by doing that, how is that helping Sebastian? Seth knew all the angles of the cameras. It doesn't make any sense to me. Here's my thing. If it comes out and again, Seth slipped up and said he wrote these CPS reports, I can't imagine he would be dumb enough to put out actual CPS reports. He's going to try to find some wiggle way around it, which is going to mean take his word for it that what he's telling you is the truth. But ultimately, I think the only reason that's being done is out of revenge. I think most of the steps Seth has taken has been to be revengeful towards the Proudfoots. And I think it's horrible. I think I wish that Seth had people on his quote unquote team or side that would make him put Sebastian into focus. Right now, it seems like his only intent is to make the Proudfoots look horrible, worse and worse, as if that's going to solve anything. Public opinion doesn't matter. What the police can prove and get a guilty verdict within court is the only thing that matters. Taj, but here's a genuine question for you. And what missing child case do they ever do forensics right away? How do you think they came up with no signs of foul play if they didn't investigate it? We got to pick or choose which one we want to believe here. You don't think the police are capable of doing their job? And if they weren't, you don't think the FBI? TBI? I don't get it. Thank you, Sassy. I don't get it. Like, which one is it, SS? I still see people to this day say, they need to get Katie and Chris and interview them separately. You don't believe they did that? Because they had camera footage of Madeline being unalive in the truck. Taj. And you know what else? Do you know the cadaver dogs did not hit on the truck where she was deceased? So you can't always trust dogs. And actually, I don't think it was the same day they kicked the parents out and took the vehicle that day. I think it was 2 days later. But I could be wrong. I wish with every call of a missing child, they would take it as a crime scene. That I do wish. But I think it's far-fetched to say, well, why wouldn't they use forensics and do this and do that? Did they ever, they searched the house over 10 times. They searched the family members' houses. They searched Steph's apartment. They were all flipped upside down, and they still have no signs. So why do we still believe there's foul play involved? And how great of a role or criminals do these parents have to be? I mean, we went through the same thing with Summerwell's family. Everybody swore up and down, Donnie Candace did it. Donnie Candace did it. Well, here they are years later, and they're still not in jail. We believe they're smarter than law enforcement. Thermal imaging. Was sold, really? Well, I don't think he said for the whole month. He wouldn't clarify exactly when he was there, which was odd, pretty odd. I'll say that was odd. Want to keep him coming home on the weekends. I'm not driving 3 hours to go spend 2 days somewhere. Hell, I could drive an hour. And sometimes I don't even want to do that because I'm like, oh, I'm going to drive there just to leave in a day. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's that weird. I do believe that there was a reason Chris wasn't in that house. It's a small political town. But what about the FBI, Taj? What about the FBI? Who is Pine? Oh, there she is. Okay. You don't think the FBI knows a little bit more than a small political town? Like if the small corrupt political police failed, you think TBI is also involved in that corruption? FBI is involved? Secret services are involved in that corruption as well? It's not like they only had LE investigating. They had fucking secret services there. I don't know. I wish they would come out and do a presser. I wish LE would give us more information. At this point, it does feel like LE has stopped searching altogether, and that breaks my heart. I know they're doing more of an investigative search than they are like physical boots on the ground searching. And listen, they have, unfortunately, their workload doesn't lessen because they have this, right? They still get their regular police duties they have to do, and there's other missing kids, and it's horrible. I think we all wish they would stop and focus on just Sebastian alone. But in reality, it's just not reality. That's not, Taj, that's not true. FBI would definitely see if there was small town corruption covering up the disappearance and or the unaliving of a 15-year-old child. Great point, Truth. Chris had to be in the home in February because the meeting with Seth in the kitchen was 2 weeks before he went missing, allegedly. We don't see any physical ground searching, Watcher. Bye, Violet. Have a great day. Even if Chris and Katie were having marital issues, that was keeping him from coming home, that would have nothing to do with Sebastian. Unless, up to good, unless the marital issues were based around Sebastian. FBI literally seizes sheriff's departments regularly for this sort of shit. I've seen a million times. There's a police station in Tennessee right now that's being investigated. Chris gives the date. He was there in February. He was on Nancy Grace. It has been almost 3 weeks. Right, so that's where they had the conversation in the kitchen. So I said poetic justice. I said, if you think that if the FBI is going to break down P. Diddy, you don't think they'll fucking break down Proudfoots? Homicide investigator did not come out showing their hand. Well, and here's the other thing a little bit. I kind of believe that too when it comes to like the Proudfoots as well, right? If Ellie had an idea of what they believe took place, let's just say this. That's fucking weird, WSU. I don't know. Let's look at it this way, right? If they had a reason to put out a 50K, let's say they put out a 50K reward. We know that they just did a big operation where they took down online predators. If they had a reason to tell Katie not to come out to the public, Would anybody believe that? No, Terry, I see you, hon. Right, they're all being investigated, Taj. So if they're covering up the disappearance and or the unaliving of a 15-year-old child, it would be exposed. But you just said that FBI only does what the police tell them to. I don't know. It doesn't. We got to pick one here, folks. This is what I'll say. This is how I'll definitely put it. I believe without a doubt that law enforcement has an idea. I don't think they wanted the flashlight footage video public. I don't believe them when they say all the cars. They say all the cars were accounted for. That's what they say. But what they don't say is all the cars belonged, right? Spudler, I was just dropping your video link. Thank you for putting out that video. That's what I'm saying a little bit. I believe that Ellie knows more. I believe the Proudfoots know more. I believe Seth Rogers knows more. I said this when it came to who was the college kid that disappeared and they couldn't find him. I said, I guarantee they have footage that hasn't been released to the public. And then sure enough, not even 4 days later, footage that had not been released to the public came out. And Riley Strain's case. I'm telling you, in time, we're going to find out that Ellie knew a lot more than what they're telling all of us. And they have a right to lie to everybody. I believe so, Watcher. I believe so. And if they believe that Sebastian was kidnapped, they're not going to tip off until they know exactly who it was and where they're at. They're not going to tip off that they're on to anybody until they arrest the person. Think about Idaho 4. Idaho 4, you had all the typical idiots, including Betty, out here screaming that they're not doing their jobs. We don't know who hurt these kids and they need to be investigating it and blah, blah, blah. Do your job. And the whole time they did know. They did know. But they had to make sure they had enough to get a conviction. You can't rush investigative work because they only have one chance, one try. I don't know, April. Chris declined to answer when Truth asked him directly if there are cameras inside their home. I believe there is. And then you have people like Justice over there saying they had cameras inside their home because Chris would yell at Sebastian to stop eating the food. All right, then use your noggin. If they had footage inside the home and something happened to Sebastian inside that home, police would have that footage and they would say there's foul play. And at this point, when they're so heavily publicized, would you tell the public where your cameras are? Anyway, speaking of Idaho 4, Maddie Mogan's father put together a fundraiser to get himself to the trials. He's only asking for $15,000. If you are able to support it, whether it's $5, $10, $2, I think it is a great cause. They don't ask for money. They haven't asked for money often that I've seen. And I think it's important for them to be there. They don't have to tell us anything. That's what I'm saying. When people are saying, like, why aren't the Proudfoots speaking? Or they owe us this, they owe us that. They owe us nothing. So long as they are still working and being cooperative with law enforcement, we are not entitled to diddly wat squat. And quite frankly, I wouldn't tell us anything. The way we twist shit, I asked, and he felt it was something he couldn't answer due to LE. Same, Trish. It boggles my mind, doesn't it? Tell us this, tell us that. No. Why is Seth jabbering all the time? I think Seth wanted nothing more than to get Katie to speak with him. And when Katie decided still decided she doesn't want to speak to Seth. I think he's trying to force her. And I think anybody who's ever been on the receiving hand of an abusive person will know and see right through the tactics that are taking place. Oh, I think he might be back in the clinker. That's word on the street, rumors. I don't know, though. I want $50K for land. Right, Jay? Come over and find out where my cameras are. Come on in. I'm glad you guys understand. I don't know. Listen, at the end of the day, I'll say what I've been saying for a very long time. Fact remains, we don't know any of these parents, right? We only met them because the unfortunate disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. This idea that any of us would believe that these parents would be 100% honest with us if they did something is asinine. You know, the one time I almost came out and said, oh, I spoke to Chris and he seemed really nice. Well, of course he's going to be really nice. Is he going to be really nasty? I'm a fucking YouTube creator. He didn't know if I was recording that call. He didn't know if I was taking notes. Matter of fact, at one point, he suspected me of taking notes because I was typing. He's going to put his best foot forward. Who wouldn't? Consider it being a job interview, right? You're not going to go into a job interview and tell them how shitty you are at working. This idea that these creators think they know these people because the way, well, when I talk to him in private, he seems like a really grieving father and he seems really nice. Well, what do you think he's going to seem like? Stupid. And it's shitty. And I want a refund for my membership because I didn't like it. So nasty. I think that's lies, Evan, because Katie did take and passed a polygraph. That's what I think. But I think any person, let me ask you a better question, Evan. Let me ask you all a question. How many of you, especially all of you over there that are quote unquote Team Seth, who think that the police are corrupt, how many of you are going to willingly take a polygraph? Let's start with that. How many of you are going to take a polygraph through a police station that you believe to be corrupt because you're all saying it? Are you going to take a polygraph? And then better yet, how many of you are going to sign up for freaking Nancy Grace's polygraph? The day I sign myself up, take a polygraph through somebody like Nancy Grace, hell no. Hook me up to TBI, LE, FBI, but don't you dare ever. I would encourage, I don't know how Seth was encouraged to take it. His spokesman should have said, no way, Seth. We're not going to take a polygraph through Nancy Grace, but we'll take one through FBI. They did. Katie took 2, Chris took 1, they both passed. Seth's own mom came out and said it. And then Seth's sister said it. And Seth knows it. Right, let's overlook that one, right? Seth failed the first one because he fell asleep. He said because of the medication he was on. They don't even want you taking polygraphs if you're under any substances. I know. They'll say they lied. They were paid off. I know. You're right. First 2 days, they asked Katie to take the poly, and Chris told her not to. So I don't know. He could have lied. I never seen SF say that. Where was that at? Where did he say that? I never said she didn't take them. I don't think Katie did anything for the record. Right. And everybody said that Chris lied when he said that TBI recommended he don't take it. They all said that he lied about that. And then, don't you know, Tony comes out and admits that while he doesn't want teams, that his team was told not to take it. Oh, God, April Wine. We're not even allowed to use the word nodded anymore. Lord have mercy. Ellie has never spoken on the polys. Oh, thank you, Evan. I'll have to take a look at that. Because polygraphs they're not even submissible in court. So Katie took it first. Chris took one. Katie takes the second one. Seth takes two. I don't know. I think this has been over analyzed. I think the most simplest thing there is it has something to do with the online. Oh, yay, Judy. Right. For sure way to tell if the narrative you believe wrong is if the narrative includes Ellie are corrupt. Ellie, TBI, FBI. I'm not saying there's not police corruption, because there is. There absolutely is. But in every case Betty has been involved in, she has claimed that the law enforcement in that case was corrupt. Why? It's fucking crazy. Oh my golly. Chris said TBI told him he wasn't there, so take one because his whereabouts were known. They didn't recommend not taking one. I don't know how it was worded, Nicole G. I just know that Tony confirmed it in the interview he just did. Tony confirms that TBI says something very similar to them. But again, we don't know these parents to be fighting over them. I think that's the part that gives me the most, is how many of us are willing to fight over parents we don't know. They're not going to be honest with us, especially if they're guilty. Because I'm failing. That's it. Seth waves a lot of red flags. And somehow the people that support Seth don't see them. Maybe they're blinded. Maybe they're too busy looking at the red flags of what they see in Chris and Katie. And maybe I'm doing the same. Maybe I'm too busy looking at Seth's red flags that I'm missing the red flags being waved by them, which is why I'm going to go back and I'm going to take my time to go through every single one and see what inconsistencies I can genuinely find pertaining to all of them. Because at the end of the day, I don't owe any of these parents anything. It should all be about Sebastian. No, and they didn't remake them again. And I wish they would, because I heard they were really good. Oh, it's just aggravating Laura Lee, because at the end of the day, that's what it's come down to. And as much as Seth over there says, we don't want teams, he's the one that's created them. And keeps them going. Every time Chris and Katie have come out and spoken, they have never disparaged Seth. Ever. What they have always maintained is keep the limelight on Sebastian. But yet they're the ones that are, guilty and all. They're the ones guilty of creating a team. Not his convicted ex-offender. People comment, he was so nice. Shake my, you didn't know him personally. Right. That's what I'm saying. We don't know these people. There was a man that was in the sector I was in of YouTube. And everybody thought, if he was pushing your narrative, he was a good guy. Right? Very good guy. Hey, Ryan. Turned out this guy was out of prison, which he should have been in, after he stabbed the mother of his kids 9 times in her back with the kids in the home. He was out on a technicality. How quickly, when you find that out, you revisit those comments and realize, wow, he was not a nice person. They won't even do it privately either, Peekaboo. They won't do it privately. When I spoke to Chris, I tried to ask him a few questions, and he would not speak badly about Seth, even in private on that phone call. Again, could it be because he thought I was recording? Could it be because he thought, I would play it one day? Who knows? But he wanted to speak badly on him. We know you would have been braiding stuff. I would have braided just to fix it because that looked horrible. Look at the Wade wives. Look at how these women support Wade Wilson, for fuck's sake. He's literally in these phone calls telling these women, shut the fuck up and give me the fucking money. Oh, when I get you, I'm going to beat your ass. And they giggle. They still call him and receive his phone calls. And while we're on that, do any of you think it's absolutely ridiculous that these inmates have unlimited access to tablets? Even limited access. I would never forget the one time Wade said, he had it from 9 a.m. till 9 a.m. or something. They shouldn't be allowed to have them. I don't care if they're paid for or not. They can do what Wade's doing. He's using his access to the internet to swindle these women out of money. All these women he's marrying. It's unbelievable. And men, not just women, and men. Wade Wilson's in county still? I don't know. I just know they shouldn't have the access they have. Really? Because he's saying that death row gives better stuff. Oh, speaking of which, don't leave me yet. Let me pull this up for you guys. Tell me. Well, you know what? I'll do a different stream about it. Never mind. I came across this thing I want to talk to you guys about. Again, here's the GoFundMe. I appreciate you all being here with me this morning more than you know. It really means a lot. I know there's a lot of people that are out here screaming Granny Bin and, all the things. And I do appreciate each of you who have reached out to me, who have, sent emails or words of encouragement or commented kind words and kind of see what is happening here. It really means a lot to me. At the end of the day, we're not always everybody's cup of tea, And I know there's a lot of choices of where you guys can spend your mornings. And it means a lot to me that you choose to spend it with me. So thank you all sincerely for being here. Even those of you who disagree, you're all welcome so long as we write it respectfully. I think at the end of the day, we need to keep an open mind that, again, we don't know these people. We just don't know them. Could be anything. Thank you, Laura Lee. I wish I could go earlier, but all right, let's wrap it up and put Sebastian on the forefront. I wish I had different videos and photos and everything. I would love to put together a different little ending to keep it fresh and keep people watching through it. I know you guys have seen this dozens and dozens and dozens of times, but I love when I see that many of you stay and watch the video despite how many times you have seen it. Because again, when we leave these streams, when we begin these streams, we should always do it with Sebastian in mind. I know myself, I have not always done that. I have allowed my dislike of Seth Rogers to take the forefront. Oh, I love that, Kelly. Thank you. I like when I see people like, I kept looking, Granny. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry for leaving you hanging. We actually had a bit of a situation the other day with my daughter. She's ultimately okay, but it caused me not to go live yesterday morning. I missed all of you too. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate all of you. All right, let's end it out. I hope you all have a safe Tuesday, and I will see you back here tomorrow. On February 26, 2024, an Amber Alert went out for 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian is white, 5'5", 120 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Sebastian was last seen wearing a black long-sleeve shirt, black sweatpants, and glasses. He has a medical condition that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance. If you have seen Sebastian or have information regarding his whereabouts, please contact the Sumner County Emergency Center or TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Let's take this moment to pray for Sebastian's safe return.